ESPN, presented by Taco Bell. And the Stars are out in Houston tonight. Two-time MVP Mike Trout. Shohei Ohtani, the international phenom, takes the ball tonight for Mike Scioscia, opposed by all-star Garrett Cole, as the Astros line up with maybe a guy having the best season of the bunch, all-star Alex Bregman. Well, as a result of the Oakland A's victory at home over Seattle earlier today, the Astros with a not-so-comfortable two-game advantage over the surging Oakland A's atop the competitive AL Western Division. And tonight, as mentioned, one of the biggest stories in all of sports returns to the mound. Shohei Ohtani had been on the radar of major league teams for a number of years. The Angels won over a long list of suitors, landing him in December. However, his first spring training stateside, not the stuff dreams are made of, struggled on the mound and at the plate. But once the opening bell sounded, he delivered and was well on his way to Rookie of the Year status when the elbow injury hit. He came back as a hitter after a month on the shelf, but returns to the mound for the first time since the injury tonight, and does so in great company, along with Babe Ruth, just the second player in Major League history with 15 home runs in a hitter in the same season that he pitches at least 45 innings on the mound. And welcome inside the broadcast booth with Jessica Mendoza, Alex Rodriguez, Buster Olney, Matt Vasgersian. Shohei Ohtani back to work tonight, Alex. The hype, all the workup and the talk in the preseason paid off. He's legit. We've already seen him as a hitter and a pitcher. He's finally back on the mound tonight.
Matt, legit indeed. And Artie Moreno has owned this team, the Angels, since the spring of 2003, and he's made a lot of decisions. None bigger with what they do with this 24-year-old phenom, Ohtani, whether they pitch him regularly, whether they make him an everyday hitter, whether they do both. But it's going to be very important to manage him. He may not be the best player on this team, but he might be the most important player in baseball because of the global impact. He reminds me of a hybrid between Strawberry and Dwight Gooden.
Oh, firm.
Wow.
He's going to have a lot to deal with tonight because the Astros are loaded, and in a season where Alex Bregman has really taken over as the most consistent offensive force, and the numbers back that up. Leads the team in doubles, walks, runs, homers, RBIs, is en route to a great season as an all-star this year, and has been bounced around in the batting order because AT Hinch just wants to take advantage of his productivity.
Well, because of all the guys that are in this lineup, and if you think of all the names on this Astros offense, the best player on this team right now is Alex Bregman. And you look at, you just talked about the numbers. He added more power to his game. He's now leading the team in almost every offensive category. And if you watch him play defense, I mean, he's a shortstop playing third base. And then the confidence, the swag. I mean, the guy believes that he is the MVP, not only of this team, but he believes he's the best player in the entire league.
Well, AT Hinch, as we mentioned, has him batting number 3 these days. And AJ with a new contract extension in his pocket atop the post. And if the AL West were a high school gym, the other managers in the division are just trying to catch up to the defending World Series champs. is presented by Taco Bell's Nacho Fries, this summer's tastiest blockbuster. And back inside set for the series finale, the fourth of a four-game weekend run between division rivals, one gearing up for a postseason, one doing some inventory for the rest of this year and for 2019 and beyond, as we get you right to the Taco Bell starting lineup for the visiting Los Angeles Angels.
Matt, even though Ohtani gets all the headlines being on the mound tonight, who anchors this lineup day in and day out is Mike Trout, and he just gets better and better. Leads all of baseball in OPS, ridiculous numbers, and watch him now. His biggest thing is to be able to hunt early in the count, first pitch, because he doesn't see a lot of good pitches.
Well, on the mound for the Astros, making his 28th start of the season, is a guy soon to turn 28 years old. In fact, on Saturday, he'll celebrate his 28th birthday. 12-5 with a 2.85 ERA is the two-time All-Star Garrett Cole. Last worked on Monday against Oakland and allowed 4 earned in his 6 innings of work. Did get a lot of offensive support, something that's been a familiar theme for him all year, and earned his 12th winner of the year on Monday. Cole, a Southern California native, specifically Orange County, a guy who grew up as an Angels supporter, pitching against the local uniform, if you will, here tonight. And on a requisite humid afternoon / evening in Houston, yes, the roof is closed as Cole Calhoun digs in to start things out tonight. First pitch of the ball game from Cole sails wide. Calhoun, Fletcher, and Trout for the Angels here to start the ball game. Well, for the Astros, at 83-53, they have matched their 136 game record from their World Series year a season ago. The difference is, at this point in the road last year, they had a 13.5 game lead on the rest of the pack. Their lead over Oakland, as you saw a moment ago, is just 2 games at the start of play tonight. Little different circumstance for the defending world champs this year. And a big swing and a miss by Calhoun.
You're going to see a lot of that four-seam fastball, 97 miles an hour. Garrett Cole will elevate, attack the top of the strike zone. He's got a curveball and slider. He'll throw off an occasional changeup. And one of the best pitchers, if not the best, righty or lefty, against left-handed batters.
Yeah, the numbers back that up, Jess. Real stingy against southpaws like Cole Calhoun. A 166 batting average allowed to left-handed batters this year. 2 balls and 2 strikes. See him shake off Martin Maldonado once.
And he's got all 4 pitches. The classic #1 starter, power fastball, knuckle curve, slider, and a changeup. And the biggest change coming from Pittsburgh from east to west has become very north and south.
2 balls and 2 strikes to start the ball game against Cole Calhoun. North and south. One out in the books for Garrett Cole. We mentioned the Astros threw 136 games last year with a much more comfortable lead atop the AL West. They have been led by their starting pitching this year, the likes of Cole, Verlander, Morton, Keuchel, a 3.20 ERA. Jose Altuve's batting average leads the team. It's 3rd best in the American League. Alex Bregman is the hot bat for the moment in Houston. 0-1 the count to the second baseman David Fletcher as Mike Trout moves on deck. You know, one of the themes around the Astros, and we'll talk about it, is the appeal on the check swing, and it's 0-2, is a not quite full complement of health. Some nagging injuries to the likes of Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve, who's DHing tonight. George Springer. It has prevented the Astros from really separating from Oakland, who have been a pesky second place team for much of the second half.
And with all the changes in the game today with rosters, the Astros, under the tutelage of Jeff Luhnow, they do it the old-fashioned way. They do it with strong starting pitching, with power. They put the ball in play offensively, and they catch the ball.
2 quick outs for Garrett Cole, and that'll bring up the 2-time MVP and 6-time All-Star Mike Trout. It's almost ridiculous to say Mike Trout is in the midst of perhaps his finest year, given the body of work, but it's no less accurate. In the midst of a great campaign, could be the first American League player to lead the league in on-base percentage in 3 straight seasons since Wade Boggs did it in the middle 1980s. This has been an all too familiar theme, however. Batting with the bases empty in the first.
AT Hinch told us today that especially with Upton and Albert Pujols out of the lineup, they're going to be especially careful with Mike Trout.
Upton removed yesterday with a day-to-day injury issue, and Albert Pujols gone for the season after undergoing season-ending surgery, 4th time in 7 years that the future Hall of Famer Albert Pujols has had surgery on a knee or a foot. And Trout behind a ball and 2 strikes. Cole just misses. He thought he had him locked up.
And that's what we're talking about. The old Garrett Cole go east and west. That one just missed. Expect him to go a lot more north and south, like the strikeout to Calhoun. Got him. Like that.
A pair of strikeouts and a 1-2-3 start to the night for Garrett Cole. Time for Shohei Ohtani to go to work on the mound for the first time in 2 months. Next. Garrett Cole, and it's time for Shohei Ohtani to go to work for the Angels against an Astros Taco Bell starting lineup that looks like this.
Yeah, for the Astros to get back on top of the mountain is going to have to be their double play combination. The All-Stars, Altuve and Correa, stalling a little bit up the DL. They need to get going to get this Astros back on top.
All eyes on Shohei Ohtani tonight. His first start since June 6th, when he went 4 innings against the Kansas City Royals. The elbow injury sidelining him as a pitcher a little longer than it did as a DH. He's been back for the better part of a month plus as a position player. The numbers in 9 starts overwhelming, 4-1. And in 49 innings, 61 strikeouts for Shohei Ohtani. Springer, Altuve, and Bregman start things for the Astros tonight. And Ohtani is underway in Houston. Yeah, there is a big Japanese contingency here. Fans, media. This is an international event tonight.
Just being up here in the press box and just the amount of Japanese press.
And a base hit for George Springer.
What you're going to see from Shohei Ohtani is an electric fastball and a split finger like you won't see. But watch this tunneling as it gets halfway to 3/4 of the way to home plate. It looks like the same pitch, but watch that thing divide. Fastball staying straight, and that splitter will drop off a table. Splitter is one of the best pitches you will see in all of baseball, regardless of pitch. But a big reason why he gets the effects and the reaction to it, as you see along with the slider and curveball, is that it looks so much like the fastball.
2 fastballs to George Springer, the second of which was hit the other way for a base hit. Here's Jose Altuve now.
And the most important thing to watch tonight with Ohtani is the first pitch. When he gets ahead like he did right there to Altuve, he almost becomes unhittable. But when he falls behind like he did with Springer, he becomes very hittable, and actually his fastball gets hit hard because it's a very straight and predictable pitch.
Two to the 6-time All-Star and reigning American League MVP Jose Altuve in the lineup as a DH tonight. We mentioned he, as well as Springer, not really themselves the last month plus due to some nagging injuries. And for Altuve, it's been a bulky knee that, in the mind of his manager AT Hinch, has really prevented him from getting his base right on his swing.
What's that back knee, that right knee that he had the injury?
Lines this one into left. It carries to Young for the first out of the first inning. Hit that one on the screws.
And an 0-2 mistake there by Ohtani. A little hanging split, got away with it. You'll see a tumble right here. And too good of a pitch to too good of a hitter. No harm, no foul there, but a better swing, better balance from Altuve. Something for him to build on today.
So 1 out, 1 on now for Alex Bregman. Bregman homered yesterday in the Astros win and has reached base safely in 29 consecutive games. And on the first pitch, he pops him up. 2 gone for Ohtani in the first. You know, the Astros are an aggressive swinging team. They've got a lot of guys in this lineup, Alex, that like to jump a count. Would you be surprised if we see that ramped up even more today? Because a lot of hitters early on, and there's only been a 9-start body of work for Ohtani. Nobody wants to fall into a 2-strike count to avoid that splitter.
Absolutely not. And when you look at a guy that can strike you out with multiple pitches, but the wipeout split finger, that's the one you want to stay away from. So I like the approach. Look early, look tight, and look to put the ball in play in the first couple of pitches.
Here's Carlos Correa now. Ohtani starts him with a 97-mile-an-hour strike in. And part of Correa's season, you see the numbers at 250. Only 1 homer in his last 27 games. Has been just that. He has been pounded inside all year long. It's still a part of the strike zone that Carlos is growing into, if you will.
Ohtani looks good. He looks fresh. Good mechanics. Again, the key for him is the first pitch. Make it be strike one, because when that happens, he becomes almost unhittable. But the thing for hitters to watch is you got to cover velocity from 100-mile-an-hour fastball to a 71-mile-an-hour curveball. 29 miles an hour as a hitter, that's a lot to cover.
That was quick math for you.
Well, Buster gave it to me this morning, so.
Well, that is the biggest discrepancy of any starting pitcher in baseball between his fastball and a secondary offer.
And it's not just that. That's not the whole story, Matt. There's also in between that a slider and a split, Jessica. We also talked about that. Ohtani is a handful.
Let's look at StatCast AI powered by AWS as he got a slider swung on for a strike there. And here are the pitches at their velocities. And there's the range Alex just talked about between the average fastball and the average curveball.
And as a hitter, Matt, you want to approach that and eliminate the split finger because it's too much to digest. Make him a two-pitch pitcher. Fastball, slider, period. And your goal as a hitter, get the first pitch you like and put it in play. Do not foul it off because you will strike out.
A ball and 2 strikes to Carlos Correa. There is so much attention on Ohtani tonight for the curiosity factor, because he really tantalized the world with some big-time strikeout performances in April. But times 10 ratchet that attention up based on the fact that he's coming off of this elbow injury that sidelined him, that required therapy, platelet injections. They chose not to have the surgery, and everybody's kind of holding their breath tonight.
Well, because it's the 3 dreaded letters that any pitcher doesn't want to hear, and that's UCL, the ligament that was partially torn, the grade 2 sprain that he got to that ligament. And a lot of times, honestly, even 5-6 years ago, you would hear anything with the UCL, it would go to Tommy John surgery. Instead, he's got the injections you mentioned, and these next starts that he has, there's a lot of eyes to see how healthy that elbow really is.
Jess, I know you got some of this as well. In talking with members of the Japanese media, there's a lot of curiosity about whether or not Ohtani can win the Rookie of the Year award in the American League. Right now, he certainly is in that conversation.
In an abbreviated body of work this year, I think that the Rookie of the Year conversation is interesting. It would have been a slam dunk if he was healthy all year. Fact is, he missed a lot of time, Alex, and Miguel Andujar, among others, has played the whole year.
Yeah, and he's played for a team that's going to the postseason, and he's gotten better, not worse, and that's rare for a young player. Getting stronger through August and now into September.
Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes to Correa. Springer runs off first, and there is ball 4. So on a night, guys, when we know Ohtani will be on a limited pitch count, every additional pitch, every base on balls, it means a shorter night in the big picture. So with runners at first and second now and 2 gone, that'll bring up first baseman Tyler White, who has been a recent hero for the Astros. A team best .337 batting average since the All-Star break. Had the go-ahead RBI double in last night's game. And is in a position here in the first to get the Astros on the board.
We've seen him go to the off speed, the breaking ball more now. He started off this inning primarily fastball. The first 7 pitches, 5 fastballs. The last 7 now, only 1 fastball.
Oh, 0-1 the count to Tyler White. So Mike Scioscia told us a couple of things before the game tonight. One being, there's no governor on the repertoire for Ohtani. They're not afraid of having him throw his slider. There's some thought that that might aggravate an elbow. Same with the split finger fastball. That is not a problem tonight. But Mike also said a long first inning, and we're going to have to really assess how much longer we go with Ohtani today. And he is en route to a longer first inning.
And Jessica, you're right. He came out of the gates very assertive, great cadence, a lot of fastballs, 5 out of the first 7. Now he's falling the last 8 with about 5 or 6 breaking balls. What you want to see is you want to be very consistent in the first inning and continue to play. Force him to hit your fastball first.
Trying to strand a couple of first inning base runners and misses away. It's 3 balls and a strike.
This is where being rusty hurts you, because this should be a 3-1 slider here. And the fastball is very hittable because it's very straight in the same plane. When you have not pitched in a while, it'll be interesting to see if he does go to the slider here.
3 balls and a strike to Tyler White.
Oof.
There's that straight fastball, but 98 is kind of in a different category.
And he got away with it because it's up in the zone. Oh boy. And White had bad intentions. But again, when you're 98 and you're in the upper quadrant, you have a safety margin. There it was right there.
So full count to Tyler White. And with 2 gone, Springer and Correa will be running on the pitch. Ohtani having to work hard in this first inning. And he strikes out White with a breaking ball. We saw everything in the arsenal, and Ohtani needed it all to strand a pair of base runners in the bottom of the first.
Slider. Conversation early on. All this is going on is, hey, what were you thinking on this pitch? I love the 3-2 slider. The 3-2 slider was his best that entire inning. That should make Nagy, the pitching coach, very happy.
Pitching coach, catcher, translator, and starter getting together to talk about that first inning back on the mound in the better part of 2.5 months.
And the traveling secretary on deck.
Andrelton Simmons leads things off in the visiting half of the second. Simmons, Fernandez, and Ward middle third of the order here for the Angels against Garrett Cole, who got off to an impressive start on his own with a couple of strikeouts in the first.
And something to note, Maldonado, who's catching for the Astros, was the best friend of Ohtani, his personal catcher, Jessica. And Ohtani was even speaking a little Spanish.
Line to third. Great play by Bregman. Gets it to first a little wide, and White's unable to stay on the bag. It's an infield single for Andrelton Simmons to start the second.
And you'll see the good and the bad right here. Great play by Bregman going over. The mistake is you have plenty of time, so the internal clock, you can actually catch that ball, take an extra step or two, and throw a rocket across, and you get an easy out. Again, that's something that'll come with experience with Bregman.
Simmons going into the rare foot first slide at first base. It looked like he did that to try to avoid any contact.
Indeed he did.
And here's Jose Miguel Fernandez now.
By the way, for the youngsters out there watching, I'd much rather see that than head first slide.
Fernandez making just his 16th major league start tonight. It has been a big time theme for the Angels, and it's one that looks like it's going to get even thicker as September moves forward with roster expansion. Angels have used 57 players this year. They've got an outside shot at an all-time major league record for players used in a season. 64 is that number. A dubious distinction held by the 2014 Rangers. That is rarely the benchmark of a successful season. 2 balls and a strike to Fernandez.
Could see Mike Scioscia put the game in motion here on a 3-1 pitch.
Simmons has had some success on the base paths this year. Slicing in left in foul territory. Bregman's got to play for the first out. Well, 4 weeks left in the regular season, and tomorrow on ESPN, a Major League Baseball holiday doubleheader. Red Sox and Braves at 1 Eastern. Yankees and A's out west at 4 Eastern. CC Sabathia and Trevor Cahill. Sunday night, a week from tonight, Jess, Buster, Alex, and I will be in Boston for these Astros and the Red Sox. And by the way, you can catch tomorrow night's Cubs-Brewers game at 4 Eastern, streaming live on the ESPN app and on ESPN+. Do you believe there's 4 regular season weeks left?
Depressing. Very sad.
I'm excited though, because these
Excited
4
for
weeks. Because these 4 weeks are going to get crazy.
I know, but I wish we had like 20 more.
But then you don't get to the crazy time right now. I mean, we have the NL wildcard game. That's going to be fun, figuring out those 2 teams.
Yeah, that is a pick'em right now in the National League. Dodgers had a walk-off win today over Arizona.
They're back in first place.
0-2 is the count to Taylor Ward. Ward, like Fernandez, in front of him with less than 3 weeks of major league experience, playing in just his 17th big league game tonight.
You continue to see Garrett Cole talking about north and south. He threw a fastball up. He usually throws a curveball off that same tunnel.
And he strikes out Taylor Ward. Doubled up on the heater that time to earn his 3rd strikeout of the night.
But to your point, Alex, he went with the curveball to set up both of those fastballs. So he went curveball inside, missed it, then went 2 elevated fastballs, and he just hits the top of the strike zone. In fact, Garrett Cole, one of the best, not only in velocity, but the lack of drop with that pitch almost looking like it rises.
And you see that anemic swing right there. Why he has that swing is you saw what he did to Mike Trout with the breaking ball. He struck him out. In the back of his mind, he's thinking breaking ball, and the fastball just goes right by him.
96 elevated up out of the strike zone, gets a swinging strike from the catcher Francisco Arcia. Arcia just a couple of weeks into his major league career and already a record holder. A major league record 10 RBIs in his first 2 career games.
One of those great stories in baseball. 28 years old, spent 12 years in the minor leagues, never once getting that call that he dreamed about. And so no wonder he goes in. As you see the note there, you mentioned it, 10 combined RBIs in those first two career games because he had 12 years to think about it, dream about it. He took advantage.
0-2 the count from Cole, 1 out, or 1 on rather, with 2 away here in the second. Tied him up. 4 strikeouts for Cole through the first 2 innings tonight. Scoreless in Houston. Is single-handedly responsible for a handful of the fastest pitches thrown all year. That one 101 miles an hour to Jeimer Candelario, and Josh Reddick of these Astros was on the receiving end for 2 of them. The complete list by a starting pitcher. Josh James, who made his major league debut last night for these Astros, 3rd career big league pitch, Alex, 101.1.
Yeah, go ahead, Jess. I'm sorry.
No, go for it. He's fired up.
I'm fired. I mean, Ohtani gets us fired up. Go ahead, Jess.
Anyone?
Yeah, I'll go. So I'll tell you what, Matt. What makes? Let's wait for this pitch here. See what happens.
It's Marwin Gonzalez.
So when you think about 100 miles an hour, that makes him good, even really good. What makes him great, and potentially someone that can walk into Cooperstown in 15, 20 years, is that split finger, because that makes him Kurt Schilling-like, and that gives you the ability to strike out 300 to 350 per year.
2 balls and no strikes to Gonzalez.
I think one thing to keep an eye on, though, with Ohtani tonight, and that we saw before he went on the DL, is the command. And something that we've seen just the last couple batters is, as that injury did creep up on him, it was the command that was the biggest difference. Something he showed very strong first 2 batters, but we've seen that fastball command not as strong.
Just fouled and right.
And we talked about it at the start. When he falls behind 1-0 and 2-0, he becomes very hittable. The most important thing for Charles Nagy, the pitching coach, to advocate to this young man is put all your attention in strike one, because if you do, you become unhittable.
You know, to your earlier point, Alex, that split finger fastball is almost literally unhittable. He's allowed 2 base hits on that pitch all year. 2-1 to the switch hitter, Marwin Gonzalez. You know, it almost looks like there's a plan for Ohtani here tonight. And Jess, you pointed this out earlier. His first handful of pitches, fastballs. And then he incorporated all the secondary stuff. 3 splitters in the first.
Yeah.
It almost feels like he wants to get his feel back. And it's interesting for a guy whose bullpen sessions are not what you'd think them to be. He doesn't have a regular bullpen. Explain what I mean by that in a moment. A swing and a miss, and it's a full count now. His bullpen sessions are almost like a father-son catch in the backyard. He goes 0 effort. His big-time effort comes day before starts when he throws a bucket of balls against a brick wall as hard as he can, Joaquin Andújar style. He does things a little bit differently. And a lot of the Angels watch those first bullpens in the Cactus League and they're like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
He's just messing around out there. Oh, off the pitching bare hand, deflecting to the left side of the infield where they get the out. And if you didn't have enough to worry about regarding Ohtani to begin with, he tries to make a play with his bare hand tonight.
Boy, a scary thought right here. Just the first reaction here by Ohtani. You always teach young pitchers, let your infielders. Boy, is that a dangerous play on the ring finger of the throwing arm.
The trainers try to come out. Ohtani holding him back.
I'll tell you what, Matt, I haven't seen Mike Scioscia move that quickly since the 1988 World Series.
He was up those
Attaboy,
stairs.
Mike.
So here's Yuli Gurriel now. 1 gone as the Angels do convert on that Pacheco machine opportunity, if you will. Gurriel getting a start at second base tonight, and doing so for the 10th time this year. Let's listen into Japanese television and the fear/excitement over that last ball in play.
Double. Oh, yeah.
All right, we might have oversold that a little bit.
A little bit. But they are screaming in the streets of Roppongi right now.
It looks for the time being as though he weathered that okay. He's in front of Gurriel, a ball and 2 strikes. You know, one of the things about Ohtani that make his future more intriguing perhaps than any other Japanese player that's ever come over, in addition to the fact that he hits and pitches and does both at a high level, he came to the Angels with relatively little work as a professional in Japan. And there's his second strikeout of the night. He came here at the age of 23, having thrown 540 professional innings in Japan. Compare that to the workloads of players like Yu Darvish, Masahiro Tanaka, Daisuke Matsuzaka, and it's really very small. Daisuke got here with 1,500 innings already in him over 10 seasons in Japan. For Tanaka and Darvish, the number around 1,300 in their 7 years in Japan. Much less wear and tear on Ohtani when he began his big league career. Here's his friend and former catcher Martin Maldonado. There is almost a grin on Shohei Ohtani's face as he pitches to a guy who by all descriptions, was his best friend on the roster.
Anytime you face your best friend or someone you played with, advantage always goes to the hitter, because any intimidation factor goes out the door.
Off the end of the bat for Fletcher. And a 1-2 inning for Ohtani in the second. A scoreless game as we head to the bottom half of the second. We'll visit with Alex Bregman coming up next. Months, and earlier today had a chance to visit with our Alex Rodriguez.
What is the difference between Alex when he's okay and when you're locked in?
I think beginning of the year I was kind of feeling for it a little bit. I was swinging at strikes, and I was taking my walks and kind of spraying the ball around, getting base hits. But when I feel good, I'm driving the baseball to right field, driving the baseball to left field.
So Alex, let's talk about the adjustment you made from last year to this year on this fastball up that had some juice on it.
Last year I would try and hit down on the baseball, and I'd either hook it to the pull side on the ground or cut it and pop up to first base or right field. And this year, instead of trying to hit down, I tried to hit through and just stay above the ball, swing a baseball above the four-seam heater.
So literally in your mind, you were trying to miss the ball above.
Yeah, well, basically yes. Swing a barrel above above the baseball, because wherever we perceive a four-seam heater to be, it's actually, when it gets to you, it's going to be for me, it feels like it's going to be a ball.
Okay, so now let me ask you the opposite question. Your sabermetrics team tells you this guy has a power sinker, so now you got to swing underneath it.
Yes. I'm not going to try and go down to hit the bottom of the sinker back here. I'm going to try and still go forward like I would be hitting a four-seam fastball, but I'm going to look down. I'm going to look down at this bottom inside corner of the baseball, and that way when I catch it out front, I'm going to hit the bottom inside of it.
Sinkers, you're trying to hit that Rawlings mark right down there?
Right down there, the R on the Rawlings right there.
And then on the opposite, if it's a guy with like Verlander that has a lot of hop,
I'm trying to hit above the inside of it like this.
Right at the Rawlings again.
Yep.
We've always been superstitious as baseball players. What level of a slump do you have to be to go down in the middle of a game and shave a mustache? Tell me about that.
Well, I wouldn't say it was a slump. I was hitting the ball hard right at people.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? It's the fourth inning of the game. Let's change it up. And went into the clubhouse, and a few of the guys had just finished pitching. They were in the clubhouse, and I walked by them. I came back out with no mustache, and they're like, "Are you kidding me? How superstitious are you?"
I saw where you hit a home run. You were rounding third base, and you were pointing in the dugout. I think you were saying something like, I told you.
Oh.
What was that about?
No, there was a kid in the front row yesterday that kept telling me from my first at bat, my second at bat, he's like, "Hey, I want you to hit a home run." I was like, I don't know. We'll see. And then my third at bat, I came down deck circle. I said, all right, I'm going to do a first pitch right here. And then first pitch over.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
That guy just digs playing baseball. He is so much fun to listen to.
He's awesome.
That just gives you an idea of Alex Bregman, too, to be the guy on deck. Like, no, I'm really going to hit a home run right now. I mean, he is so confident. And the thing is it works.
Jeffrey Marte with an infield single that leads things off against Garrett Cole here in the third, and now it's Eric Young Jr., the switch hitter. And last year, such a balanced attack with 4 different players leading in those 4 major categories. This year, it is all Alex Bregman.
Well, he came into the season on a mission, and this is a guy that, I mean, he wants to be the MVP. He believes that his entire game is good enough to be the best player in the league. And oh, by the way, he's got one of them on his team in Jose Altuve, and not just one, but the one who won last year. And he came in on a mission to pull the ball more, hit the ball more in the air, and have more power because of it.
And Jess, I mean, to your point, he is a total package. When you think about makeup and swagger and passion, we finished, my interview was about 50 minutes. Then he stayed around with me, you, for another 30, and he just wanted to keep talking baseball. But if you're Jim Crane, the owner of the Houston Astros, and Jeff Luhnow, you have to be sitting around having conversations and saying, what do we do to keep this young man here for the next 10 years? And those conversations, if they haven't started, should start sometime tonight after the game, because he is the real deal.
So in the half hour that you spent with Alex after the cameras turned off, how long did it take you to get to college football?
About 5 minutes. Big game tonight, LSU against the Hurricanes in Dallas.
Alex Bregman went to LSU.
Correct.
Ball and 2 strikes to count to Eric Young Jr., and it's the 5th strikeout of the game for Garrett Cole. Well, as it turns out, Alex Bregman likes to talk college football with more than just Alex Rodriguez.
Let's hear what they talk about on the field. We're probably going to be talking about the football game that's happening.
Best defense in college football. Showing up.
I don't know about that, bro. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. We're going to need to lie to him and tell him that LSU is up every time, so he concentrates on hitting.
Second quarter, LSU's up 17-3 on your Hurricanes. Are we going to lose you now?
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's awful.
It's
actually,
only second quarter, though.
We actually had a little small friendly wager. LSU, $50. So
any points?
Wow, don't go bigger.
No points. No points.
Guys, he's got another bet with another University of Miami product. The former Astros coach and Red Sox manager Alex Cora. If Miami wins the next week in Fenway Park, Bregman has to wear the U turnover chain in batting practice. If LSU wins, Cora will wear a Warren Morris jersey for the former LSU legend.
Oh, Buster, that's
and we're going to be there.
Good intel. We hope maybe they can save that for Sunday.
Yeah.
Great.
I'll check on that.
Counts 2 balls and no strikes to Cole Calhoun, batting with 1 out and 1 on here in the top of the third.
And Alex, you can tape the $50 to your forehead.
Not yet. It's only the second quarter.
Garrett Cole, the UCLA product, while we're on the topic of college alma maters. And a breaking ball for a strike to Calhoun to put him behind, or 2-1. 2-1 now to Cole Calhoun.
And here's what a Cy Young looks like. A guy that can throw 95 to 99 miles an hour. 2-0. You're in the driver's seat, and then you get, hello, 2-1.
And guys, we have a confirmation from the Red Sox manager. Yes, the payoff will come next Sunday on that bet.
That was quick. I bet he's watching. Attaboy, Cora.
2-2 now.
Alex Cora, if you're listening, is only the second quarter. We can do this. So if you're a hitter right now, he just threw you a 2-0 beautiful breaking ball. He blew a fastball by you. Right now you're in your heels. He can pretty much do whatever he wants. He has 2 pitches to strike you out.
Saw that number on your screen a moment ago. Already 8 swings and misses for Cole. He has struck out 5. And this coming off a start in which he had a season-low 9 against the Oakland A's on Monday. Also gave up a couple of home runs Monday against Oakland. That too atypical of Cole's season. He's only been touched up 16 times in almost 175 innings of work. Had it not been for Justin Verlander, we'd be talking about the American League strikeout leader. You'd be talking about a guy who's a even larger Cy Young candidate. And there's ball 4 to Calhoun. That Cy Young conversation in the American League is no more defined now than it would have been on opening day. In fact, I would suggest it's more complicated now than it would have been 3 months ago. Pick a card here, Buster. Who do you got in the AL Cy Young race?
Wow, thanks for putting that on me. Wow, because of course situations like Chris Sale going on the disabled list, complicated. Luis Severino struggling. Verlander was incredibly dominant at the beginning. Blake Snell more late. Blake Trinan's an interesting candidate. Can I check back?
Sure.
I got Chris Sale. I think he's coming back, and I feel like they're just resting him, making him as strong as he can. And if you look at the numbers, he is the leading candidate. Of course, if he doesn't come back in the next couple weeks, then I think he drops off. But if you're talking about the best pitcher in the American League, it's Chris Sale.
Here's David Fletcher now with 2 runners on. Well, one of the things that about half that field have in common is that Shohei Ohtani, and we've talked about Ohtani the pitcher a lot tonight, has homered against a lot of guys on that AL Cy Young board. He's gone deep against Corey Kluber, Justin Verlander, and Luis Severino. And when Justin Verlander gave up the homer to Ohtani earlier this year, he knew it out of the hand.
You just can't teach that. That's a thing of beauty. And to take a fastball mid-90s, head down and hit it out to left center field, that just shows you, talking to scouts in the American League that see this team often, they'll tell you this is a guy that can hit 30 home runs and steal 30 bases.
On the appeal, no swing, and it's 1-2 to Fletcher.
That's as close as you're going to get to hitting a double down the line without fully coming through where his barrel gets. Ooh.
I mean, if he hits that ball, it could be a home run.
I'm saying like top the wall.
But that's the epitome of north-south. That was true north. But even you see how effective that pitch. Now you can throw a pitch up again, or you can throw out the same tunnel a curveball.
Into center field, chasing Kemp for the second out. Marte tags up. He'll get to third.
So AJ Hinch was talking to us about being very, very careful with Mike Trout. Well, this is where you want to circle Mike Trout. Even though second base is open, I would just walk him, and I would let Simmons hit with the base loaded. And that's the problem when you don't have Albert Pujols or Upton. You be very, very careful here. Don't mess around.
Yeah, it's a lineup that's had a hard time protecting Trout when fully healthy. But as you mentioned, Upton getting a day. Pujols gone for the rest of the year. Ohtani pitching, so he's not DHing tonight. And here's Trout with a base open and 2 gone in the third.
One of the things we're used to seeing is the shift for left-handed batters, but as of the last couple years, we've also seen the shift adjust to righties. And for Mike Trout, you look at the percentages. This is what the Astros look at. You see where Gurriel, second base, right up the middle, because 25% of the balls are going to go there. Correa, 20% and 38%. Clearly, you get an idea of 200 feet or less where Mike Trout hits the ball. There's a reason why no one's on the right side of the field. Only, look at that, only 17% of balls are hit to that side. And this is what we're seeing in baseball now. The numbers don't lie.
And this, Jessica, should be a curveball. And if I was Mike Trout, maybe you sit on one.
You know, there have been a couple of calls this inning alone that would have unnerved a lesser pitcher. Now that 1-0 fastball to Mike Trout was a strike. The check swing call to Fletcher should have punched him out. 2 balls and no strikes now to Mike Trout. And there's the breaking ball, Alex, to make it 2-1.
So you would have crushed that because you've been sitting.
No, actually I wouldn't have, because that actually backed up, and that pitch is actually impossible to hit. That ball's a ball, and then it sneaks in. There's nothing you can do as a right-handed hitter there.
Take it.
Up with the fastball to make him swing and miss, and that's been the book on Mike Trout the last year plus.
Yeah, and Matt, you see that swing right there, and it's an overswing. I love when they play the shift, though, if I was hitting, because it would make me think smaller and not bigger. So if you open up that hole you see there in right field, it would just make me think smaller and hit the ball the other way.
Runners at the corners with 2 gone. The 2-2 to the 2-time MVP.
This is a beautiful location. You got the best hitter in baseball up, and you're going to hit that spot. It's a ball, but on a 2-2 count, you don't want it any more over the plate.
And if you're Mike Trout as a hitter, you have to bet the house that this is going to be a 3-2 curveball again, just by watching the cadence of how this at bat and this pitch has developed.
The payoff pitch. Breaking ball just missed. And that loads the bases with 2 gone. Quick reminder, tomorrow at 4 Eastern, 3 Central, you can catch this one on ESPN+. Cole Hamels and the Cubs at Miller Park to take on the Brewers. This one's also streaming live on the ESPN app, so start your free trial of ESPN+ now. So the first sticky situation for Garrett Cole comes with Marte at third, Calhoun at second, and Trout at first base. And now Andrelton Simmons, a very tough man to strike out. 0-1 to a guy who loves to hit here in this ballpark. And if the Angels were to ask for a custom situation to try to get on the board here, this would be it. Simmons homered here on Friday and is 9 for 19 with 10 RBIs in this ballpark this year.
The lowest amount of strikeouts in the bigs.
Faded into foul territory. Tyler White's over there to make the basket catch. Franklin Stubbs style. Hey, Captain Casual. Still scoreless in H-Town. By Nissan, innovation that excites. A couple of exciting moments in this one. Both pitchers wiggling out of tough spots. Pair of strikeouts and a walk by Shohei Ohtani so far tonight. He's also given up a base hit. Back to work for what may be his final inning. Kemp, Springer, and Altuve. Although he went a long way in extending his night with a 1-2-3 second. A ball and a strike to Tony Kemp. Kemp's gotten a lot of playing time the last week and a half, and deservedly so, swinging a hot bat. 348 over his last 9 games.
Look at that, 68 miles an hour on the curveball. Alex, you made that point earlier, but just think about that. We've seen 98 tonight down to 68. 30-mile-an-hour difference between 2 of his pitches.
2 balls and a strike to count to Tony Kemp. Springer and Altuve to follow. We've seen more breaking balls tonight than I guess I was ready for. We weren't sure if that was a pitch he was going to use sparingly given the elbow. But exactly what Mike Scioscia said has happened. He has let it all eat tonight. Two balls and 2 strikes to Kemp. Full count now. As tough as Ohtani is to right-handed batters, left-handed hitters, 1 extra base hit. That in 77 at-bats leading into the start tonight. And he loses the left-handed hitting Tony Kemp to lead things off in the 3rd. That'll bring up the right fielder George Springer, who is wearing a microphone for us tonight.
Hey, I'm gonna need you to not dive for my ball in the 4-hole, bro. You're in the. What are you doing over there? I might bunt on you, bro. Yeah, you're slow, bro. You used to be fast back in Double-A.
Buddy, I look gordito, but I can run.
No.
Yeah.
You were fast a long time ago. Not anymore.
I love it. I love it. These guys have great personalities.
A strike to Springer.
I'm going to punt on you. George Springer is one of the best personalities in the game, too. And there's a lot of that on this Houston team, but he's someone that's grown, I'd say, the most probably in the last 2 years. Not only as a player, but what you see there and hear there.
And Jess, these guys, they're great athletes. They're great people. But each one of these guys, Springer, Correa, Altuve, Bregman, they can go out and play in the NFL. They can go out and play soccer. They can play many sports. Lucky for us, they chose baseball. And boy, do they have some good ones right here in Houston.
A lot of breaking balls here to George Springer. Unusual for a guy who has really struggled against the fastball this year. You'd think, from a baseball standpoint, what Springer's kind of kryptonite has been this year would play right into Ohtani's hands. Struggles with the fastball up, struggles with the fastball in. Let's see if Ohtani kept that in his pocket until a 2-strike count. Another breaking ball fouled away.
And Matt, sometimes what you see with young pitchers, and Ohtani's 24, creativity sometimes trumps efficiency. And what you want to see, and that's why Maldonado was so important to the development of Ohtani, because he would force him to throw more 70, 80% fastball, establish that, and then go to the split.
The sinker baller Jim Johnson is up in the Angels bullpen as Ohtani approaches 45 pitches. We were told there was a sort of soft cap of about 55, 60 maybe in him tonight. Another breaking ball hit into the corner in left field and gone. Wow.
And Matt, you hit the jackpot. You were exactly right with the breaking ball. Playing into the strength of Springer with a bad thumb. Ohtani gets beat. Now with his first, second, or third, his fourth best pitch. And he showed it once too many times. And Springer, way too good of a hitter to give him that many free looks. And boom, short punch. Short porch, 2-0 Astros.
And you got to appreciate what George Springer did within that at bat. To see the breaking ball twice prior, fouling it off, not ready for it, looking more fastball, and then being able to react and adjust within that bat to crush it. Third time seeing it.
Number 20 for George Springer. And now Jose Altuve. Leadoff walk, 2-run homer, and the Astros are on the board tonight. Couple of fastballs to Altuve here, the firmest of which was the last one at 93. That one at 93 fouled away as we take you back to the Springer homer.
And you're doing George Springer a favor by throwing one too many breaking balls. Again, his fourth pitch. And in this ballpark, throwing slow breaking balls to a right-handed hitter, not the best idea.
And there it is. On a couple of hops to second for Fletcher, and Altuve is retired. And here comes Mike Scioscia. That's going to be all for Ohtani tonight. Gets to 49 pitches, and I would imagine that the Angels were looking at the velocities of those last handful of fastballs, 92, 93 tops, and decided let's call this a win before anybody gets too badly behind here.
Ohtani, the very humble young man, shakes his hand. A little bit of an awkward but funny moment there from Mike Scioscia.
Well, Shohei Ohtani removed here in the third. A walk and a 2-run homer here in the third. He did get Altuve on a ground ball. 2 in the third is his return to the mound tonight. And Alex, I know that, you know, we're just kind of processing his return. A couple of walks, couple of strikeouts. Moving forward, does tonight change your opinion on how he's going to be used, on what happens down the stretch for him?
No, I mean, you can tell he's got a coating of superstar written all over him. He is a #1 guy. In talking to Mike Scioscia, you know, he doubled down on that. He's spectacular makeup, respectful, he's humble, he's a student of the game, and he has a tireless work ethic and watches video, more video than any pitcher on the roster. But here would be my advice to Ohtani, because his stuff is so comparable to one of the best pitchers I ever faced. I would take and watch at least 50 to 100 starts from Curt Schilling. And the reason why he is the epitome of the high-low game, the north-south. And if you looked at what Curt Schilling did in 1997, 17-11 with 2.97 with 319 strikeouts in 254 innings. I mean, this is the capability that he has. But Matt, to your point, creativity sometimes because you're your own worst enemy. Fastball split should be your bread and butter.
Alex Bregman sends a fly ball out to right. Cole Calhoun's got it.
I do think, though, there's something to be said about the fastball velocity. We only saw 2 2/3 innings, but he started this game, guys, throwing 96, 97 with that fastball. It got down to 90 to 92. And when you're talking about someone coming back from the UCL sprain, I talked to our in-house medical expert, Stefania Bell, and that's the concern, is how important it was for him to come back so they could see where his elbow is, and that's something to note in that fastball velocity.
Here's Carlos Correa now with 2 gone.
And Jess, if you look at a chart, his charts should look 80% fastball split or even 90. And use slider and curveball only to get back in counts, not to get people out. Because you saw exactly what can happen with a Springer when you use your fourth pitcher, your fourth pitch, to try to put someone away. It's a mistake.
Well, the Astros themselves noticed the velocity drop that you discussed, Jess.
He lost his velo, man. Bro, I was like, hey, go get him. Go get him. Go get him right now. Go get him.
That was the thing that concerned me, was just watching the radar gun and knowing that, yeah, it makes sense if you're in the 7th. He's been pitching a bunch, but when you only get 25 pitches in and that velo drops 5, that's not Shohei Ohtani.
It is amazing the burden of expectation on this young man. Making only his 10th major league start tonight. He missed 2+ months on the mound, and a lot of us, myself included, I'm guilty, we thought he was going to go out there and have 3 immaculate innings and strike out 9 in his 3 innings of work, and that would be it.
But I do credit George Springer, obviously not only recognizing the velo was down, but then he's looking for the secondary. So here you go, the pitch before the home run. It's a breaking ball, same pitch, he fouls it off. Same pitch he gets the very next pitch. Made a 1-pitch adjustment. He hits it out of the park, and that's a big league hitter right there. Someone that adjusts within the at-bat, recognizes velocity, but also able to adjust the breaking ball.
And there's ball 4 to Correa. So Johnson, who flies out Bregman, walks Correa. We didn't really have a chance to set up the 34-year-old veteran right-handed sinker baller, making his 54th appearance of the year. Jim missed a little time this year with a lumbar strain, but for the most part has been reliable out of the bullpen as he has throughout his career. Former closer on early in this one. A runner aboard with 2 gone now for Tyler White.
About a hitter that's hot right now. No one else in baseball has a higher slugging percentage than Tyler White, with 2 strikes in the last month. And you look at him and sometimes you think, all right, is this dude for real? And I'll tell you what, he crushes. And he's made adjustments from 2016, a guy that got called up and down all last season. Never really could get consistent at bats, and he's made himself known to where AJ Hinch hasn't been able to keep him out of the lineup.
Yeah, not exactly a blue chip draft choice. But to your point, Jess, a terrific story. Tyler White, 33rd rounder out of Western Carolina, where he was a walk-on. And you mentioned the call-ups and the send-downs after debuting in 2016, up and down from AAA no fewer than 6 times. And on this last occasion, before being sent back down to AAA again earlier this year, he sat down with AJ Hinch in his office and said, all right, enough's enough. What do I have to do to stick around up here? And AJ said, you have to hit a ton.
Yes.
Because you don't
crack this offense.
Yeah, you don't really have a position here. We're set everywhere around the diamond. You have to hit like crazy to stick around here, and that's exactly what White's done. He puts it in play to third. Ward finishes off the inning. Well, Ohtani's return to the mound is complete, and through 3, it's the Astros with a 2-0 lead in Houston. Visited with Angels manager Mike Scioscia.
Mike, Ohtani's first appearance in almost 3 months. What'd you make of it?
Stuff looked really good. Last thing, I don't know if he was getting a little bit tired or just trying to feel for some stuff, but first 2 innings, this stuff was as good as it's been, so that's exciting.
Yeah, we saw the velocity drop in that last inning. How do you interpret that?
Well, you know, he did throw some dead fishes earlier. You know, he's got that, you know, throw that little fastball, take a little bit off. So we'll see how he feels and what he was trying to do, but came out of it, said he felt great.
Mike, thanks.
The dead fish fastball. It can be a weapon. Unlike the dead fish handshake, which can be a hindrance. Here's Jose Miguel Fernandez leading things off in the 4th.
Matt, you've been writing this week.
I have. Very busy. Fernandez, Ward, and Arcia as we take a look at our Cricket Wireless pitching summary tonight. Garrett Cole struck out 5. He has walked a pair. And you see Ohtani's return to the mound, 2 1/3 tonight. The damage on the 2-run homer by George Springer. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Fernandez. Yes. We're either in Arlington or Houston. Or at Tracy Ringolsby's ranch. Back up the middle and through, a base hit. Well, the Astros finish out their homestand this week against the Twins, a 3-game series that starts tomorrow. Come see Springer, Bregman, and Correa in action, and get your tickets now at Astros.com. It is a bring your dog promotion tonight here in the Space City. Gosh, that dog was fit with the retro Dickie Thon jersey too. Really into the spirit of the occasion. That's right.
Some pretty dogs.
Don't you think this event would be like torture for a retriever?
Yes.
You have to sit
yes.
in the stands for innings. You're throwing a ball around on the field and you can't do anything about it.
Buster, there's nothing worse, especially when you're struggling as a Yankee player. Bat day in the Bronx.
A ball and no strikes to Taylor Ward, and that hits him. First 2 have reached base safely here in the Angels' 4th. Wow.
Must have been a nick.
Do you see the jersey move at all? I didn't.
And the reason you know it hit him, no reaction from the catcher. So there must have been sound. Only 3 people in the building know the truth. And there's those 3 guys right there.
Wow. So first and second with nobody out for the catcher, Francisco Arcia. That's the 7th hit batsman for Garrett Cole this year, the most in a season for him since 2015. If that's the only blemish statistically on Cole's year, and it really isn't a blemish, then it's really nothing to get too excited about.
Well, and no one spots his fastball more than Garrett Cole. He's at 72%. That's more than any other starting pitcher in baseball. And if you're going to have something that's going to be the negative end of it, I mean, in a day and age where you need to get in on the hands more than ever on batters, and you see less and less pitchers have the capability of doing that, that's what Garrett Cole does. And what's going to come with that is you're going to hit a few dudes.
A ball and a strike to count to Arcia. Well, you know, in the philosophy change that Garrett Cole has gone through, leaving the Pirates, coming to the Astros, and we've got some jawing now between the home plate umpire Stu Schoenwater and both sides. But the philosophy change for Cole is significant. Alex, you touched on the Pirates and their kind of east-west. They preach the sinker ball, ground balls, and as much as the Astros would love ground balls too, they're a north-south philosophy, and that one gets away from Maldonado.
Yeah, Matt, it's a whole different game. One is a contact play, which is east-west inducing ground balls, wanting ground balls early. Astros teach more of a high fastballs and spin the ball, which creates more strikeouts, longer counts, but is made Morton and Cole just different type pitchers.
And Charlie Morton in particular has been a great roadmap for Garrett Cole, having traveled the same journey from uniform to uniform from Pittsburgh. He had that stop in Philly in between.
Well, that's the thing that Garrett Cole bought into day one, and this is a guy who's had success, and first #1 overall pick out of UCLA. Stuff has always been there, and he had success with the Pirates, but to be able to sit down with the Astros day one, I remember running into him at spring training, even before spring training started, and he said, man, the numbers that they have shown me with my pitches, how I can use them, I'm fired up because I'm going to be able to use my fastball and curveball in ways that I've not used it in the past.
And just to your point, baseball is a copycat business, and when you have a guy like Morton who had so much success in the World Series, a guy like Garrett Cole that trails, it comes in believing. I remember when we had players come in and wanting to be coached by Kevin Long.
Chopper White's going to come home. Play out!
Exceptional play right here. Not known for his defense. A very tough play by White. Nice catch, good footwork, and a rocket right over the top. Perfect tag by Maldonado.
Alex, is that a play? You as a veteran infielder, you go, no, 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 great play.
Well, if it's Keith Hernandez or John Olerud, I'm saying yes, yes, yes. If it's White, I'm not sure. But he made a Keith Hernandez type play there.
So it's a fielder's choice. It puts Scioscia aboard. Runners at the corners with one gone now for Jeffrey Marte. A single for Marte in the third. Entered play batting just $1.25 since the All-Star break, and takes a fastball knee high to fall behind 0-2. So 2 fastballs around the knees. And if we're going to armchair quarterback this thing, how about an elevated fastball up around the eyes? That's my guess.
I like watching the way Garrett Cole throws that four-seam fastball. It's as close you'll see as a rise ball in the game of baseball.
On the ground to third, Bregman bobbles. They do get the, oh, do they? They do not. Yes, they do get the out at second, and the run scores from third. What looked like a ground ball that could have ended the inning. Instead, that bobble by Bregman cost them the chance, and the Angels are on the scoreboard.
Yeah, tailor-made double play here for Bregman. Ball comes up on him a little bit, and that bobble cost him a run. Sees that last hop up there, comes up, still does a really nice job, and at least you get one.
So we're running with 2 gone, a man at first now for the number 9 hitter Eric Young Jr. Young strikeout in the third makes him just 3 for his last 28.
And Jose Fernandez makes the Cardinals sit, and this is the kind of stuff that will drive Mike Scioscia credit. Look at the lack of secondary lead. He actually has a little jab step back, and that's what allows Tyler Ward to make the nice play. But Mike Scioscia always advocates great base running, aggressive. You want a little bit of momentum, a 1-2, and if he does that correctly, there is no throw. You see, watch his hesitation. He actually goes back a little bit. And all that as an infielder, you just love to see that because it gives you an extra foot or two to make a play. And Ward did. Score should be 2-2. Tyler White.
2 balls and a strike to Eric Young Jr. Only 1 hit in the inning against Cole. This has been a super frustrating night for Garrett Cole, and I got to say, not that we have any skin in the game, you kind of want to see the game called the right way. I don't get it.
And I tell you, Garrett Cole has done a very nice job of keeping his composure, but I have probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 misses.
Yeah, I'm with you too.
From the home plate umpire.
Yep.
And for the first time, he basically let his hair down and just expressed his frustration.
So here's Cole Calhoun now with runners at first and second. It's worth noting, and you could see Garrett kind of overthrow that time, and now his frustration leads to a visit from his catcher just to try to calm him down. It is a pair, not just one, but 2 AAA umpires on this crew this weekend. 1 at third, and then Stu Schoenwater at the plate rather is also a AAA umpire. That's Ramon DeJesus at third. A ball and no strikes to Calhoun. Am I nuts for suggesting that in a meaningful game in September, and the Astros have just a 2-game lead in the division, I think it's exceedingly rare to have 2 backup umpires working a September game with pennant implications?
Well, you have Gary Cederstrom, the crew chief at first base. Love to see him in a big game behind the plate. One of the best umpires in the baseball. To have 2 youngsters, it's a lot with a game with such recourse.
A ball and a strike to Calhoun. It's been the hardest that Cole's had to work in any inning tonight. 1-2. ESPN technology is built for baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile using our front row camera.
A breaking ball, and Jess, that's the one you talked about. Cement mixer almost throws it through the break, and Calhoun swings right underneath. If you're Cole, you want to stay in the upper quadrant of the strike zone by reading Calhoun's swings.
The 1-2. He got him looking. Angels on the board. It's 2-1 Houston. game homestand against the Rangers and Mariners. Come out to the ballpark to see Trout, Ohtani, and Simmons in action. Get your tickets now at angels.com. Marwin Gonzalez leads things off in the Houston half of the fourth. Angels able to cut their deficit in half with a lone run in the top of the inning. Gonzalez, Gurriel, and Maldonado here in the bottom of the fourth. Jim Johnson came on in relief of Shohei Ohtani with one out in the third. Recorded a couple of outs. Walked a man. 2 balls and a strike on Marwin Gonzalez. You know, for all the changes that the Angels have undergone in their bullpen this year, and given the fact that they are under 500 in what amounts to kind of a disappointing season, let's be honest, the bullpen has held up well. And I think that's a credit to Charlie Nagy, who you saw there visiting with Mike Scioscia. A bullpen ERA that's around the middle of the American League. But Angels relievers lead Major League Baseball in inherited runners scoring percentage. Just 22%. Gonzalez bounces to second, and there's one gone in the fourth.
You know, man, it's interesting. Go ahead. What's interesting about the last 2 managers that we've had in Buck Showalter and Mike Scioscia in back-to-back weeks, both these guys, they handled the bullpen as well as any pitcher I've ever played against. They always seemed they were 2 steps ahead, and they never got caught unprepared.
'19th season as Angel manager, as Yuli Gurriel digs in now. And of course, we can involve Buster in this conversation. There's been a lot of discussion about Mike Scioscia's future as the final year of his 10-year contract. The consistency that the Angels have enjoyed thanks to that long-term agreement has been unparalleled. As what a fine layout play Simmons makes for the out, 2 gone.
And it's Simmons, the 3-time Gold Glover, Jessica. Great jump. Outstanding play.
One of the best shortstops you will see in the game. The fact that this ball did not hit the ground, not only does he full-on lay out for it, but he gets underneath it. He has the ability to be able to see the ball going down, all of that happening in a split second. Simmons does not get the credit he deserves. A lot of it's the fact that he plays for a team that you just don't see nationally enough. But if he did, this shortstop would be a household name.
0-1 the count to Martin Maldonado.
And just to follow up on what you said there, Matt, look, when Mike Scioscia is finished managing, he will one day make a speech at Cooperstown. If you see his career wins, you see the World Series that they won back in 2002, the 2 World Series he won as a player. There is an assumption around the industry that he will not continue as the Angels manager after this season. And the early names that you hear, the speculation, Eric Chavez, who is an assistant or had been working as an assistant within the Angels organization. He's been managing now in AAA for the Angels. Josh Paul, who's a bench coach for the Angels right now, and Brad Ausmus, who works as an assistant in the Angels front office. Those are 3 early names to watch if, in fact, Mike Scioscia moves on.
And I agree with you, Buster. I do think he ends up in Cooperstown as a Hall of Fame manager. But he told us today in his office he still loves the game. He loves being around the kids. He is an exceptional teacher of the game of baseball. And whether it's with the Angels or somebody else, I think he's going to go out and be a great manager for somebody out there.
Well, the fact is that since the 2000 season when Mike Scioscia arrived in Anaheim, every other team in Major League Baseball has changed their manager at least twice. Wow.
Wow.
bounced up the line, and it's a fair ball as it eats up Ward. Maldonado's aboard with 2 gone.
Kind of a do-or-die play right here. Tough hop, nothing you can do. Nice job in just keeping it a single and not a double. And you know, Matt, talking about Scioscia, just to put a button on it, because I do think that he may have more value today than he ever has in his entire career. And the reason why, I think he's a guy that can understand sabermetrics, but also can mix new school with old school. But what I like best is what he does to teach catchers. You know, whether it's Benji Molina or Maldonado. If you catch for Mike Scioscia, it's like having an Ivy League degree. You understand catching, receiving, preparing, cadence. He mentioned today in his office, Fernando Valenzuela, when he struck out, he had to sprint, get his equipment on, and get back if he wanted to throw the ball to second, because Fernando Valenzuela was coming and he was going.
Tony Kemp sprays a ground ball to second. That will retire the side. Nothing in the 4th. On to the 5th. We'll give some equal time to the other skipper and visit with A.J. Hinch when we return. Now, a 2-1 lead for the defending world champion Houston Astros as we start the 5th. Garrett Cole back to work to face David Fletcher, Mike Trout, and Andrelton Simmons. And it's a pleasure to have Astros manager A.J. Hinch join us for a visit. A.J., let's start just by congratulating you on the extension, sticking around. You're now a full-time Houstonian, right? You can come here, start buying land, restaurants, the whole shooting match.
You still got to win games. Let me tell you, it doesn't matter about the contract that you got to win games. But it's, yeah, you know, I work in a great organization. Jim Crane, Jeff Luno have done great things to make me feel great here. We've done a lot of good things, great team. So.
AJ, we saw Garrett Cole a little frustrated kind of at the end of the last inning, but he came back, struck out Cole Calhoun. What have you seen with him this season, and honestly more the psyche even as much as the stuff? Yeah,
no, he's a real competitor, and you'll see him dial it up, especially when he sees the finish line. You know, whether this inning or next inning, if he gets into some traffic or needs to finish his outing, he will reach back a little bit. And what he's done a little bit better in the first half than the second half is get ahead of hitters. You know, tonight he's had some soft contact leadoff. Hopefully this isn't one. You know, to lead off some innings, create some traffic, but he dials it up to get out of innings, and I love his approach. He never throws a pitch without a purpose. He's been awesome to our organization since we added him.
Well, with Mike Trout getting in the box right now, we talked to you pregame. Dallas Keuchel having some fun behind you, just a heads up.
No, I mean, it's a standard operation. You know, if he doesn't pitch in a national game, he needs some attention. So make sure you show him on the camera.
Is McCullers going to hit?
He's making
that's
sure
what I
of
wanna
that.
know.
McCullers is he's not.
He's
He's
got
not.
a helmet on.
I know. That's,
No.
See what I deal with, and I signed up for more years of this.
That's what makes it fun. Well, and also facing some of the best in the game, Mike Trout in the box now. We talked to you about your approach, and obviously the mindset pitching against someone like him. But walk us through right now, even him up to the plate.
Yeah, you know, it's never comfortable, no matter what the game situation is. Earlier in the game, we had a big spot, but he's the elite of the elite, and he never comes off the pitch. It's one of the most impressive things that he does. And you know, even earlier, that's another pitch where he lays it. You know, he's been swinging at that in his career. He's been working really hard to stay off that pitch, and if he gets that zone discipline down, it's a small strike zone where you can go to get away from danger.
2 balls and a strike, the count to Mike Trout. AJ, Alex earlier in the telecast talked about baseball being a copycat industry. You no doubt agree. And I want to talk to you about where your left fielder is right now and how visitors have kind of copycatted what you've done out there with your left fielder, given the ballpark and the dimensions here.
Yeah, you see this at some of the part. You know, Fenway, you can do this. You do it here where a pull ball that's off the bat with any sort of exit velocity is going to be, you know, off that wall or over that fence. And so we've cut off the gap a little bit. The one thing you got to be careful on is the ground ball between short and third. You've got to really have a left fielder that knows what he's doing and get over and get the ball to cut it off. But more times than not, you know, if they stay inside the ball, like that's obviously not hit off the handle, but if he stays inside the ball and hit the ball in the left field gap, we have a guy there, and it can get pretty frustrating for a lot of hitters. Now, as teams have watched this and teams have noticed some of the outs that we get in the outfield, I've seen more teams do that. You still got to have that left fielder that can cover the ground down the line, but very few triples down the line in this ballpark unless you can really fly or you hit it right down on that line down the corner.
Yeah, so AJ, we know Garrett Cole, obviously a supreme talent. He's gone from an east and west guy, ground ball guy, to north and south, and he looks like a Cy Young winner. But what people don't know about him, tell us a little bit about his makeup, the way he recalls pitches, and how seriously he takes his work in between starts.
He does. You know, there's a lot of great minds around the game. I think one of the better compliments you can give is I think he could be a pitching coach. Like, I think he knows the delivery, he knows the arm action, he knows the pitch sequencing as well as anybody, you know, on our team and that I've been around, and he watches the game. He's very attentive to his own games. He's very attentive to other games. And as he's grown and as he's matured, and you know, the difference between the curveball and the slider, the difference between taking a little bit off and having a changeup, just he might only need 1 to 5 of those a game. He's been very good about that, and that approach. When I hear him talk to our catchers and I hear him talk to our pitching coach, and in between innings, the intensity in which he takes his craft, you know why he's good. He was the first pick overall for a reason with his skill. How he's applied it is the difference between Garrett Cole as a rookie and Garrett Cole as hopefully for us a perennial Cy Young candidate. I got a signed baseball. You know, we should auction this off.
Did he make it out to it?
He didn't. He didn't personalize it.
He didn't even personalize it?
That means,
did he sign the sweet spot?
He did sign the sweet spot. If you guys have them, see, I can show you. If you know, I'm not sure if I'll stay. I told you guys before the game he might pitch next Sunday against the Red Sox. Maybe I need to move him to Saturday and not give him the love on national TV.
Oh, there you have it. If he knew that, he'd stop right now. And a lot of conversation coming into this game, obviously Shohei Ohtani making his first start back, coming off the DL. What did you see from your seat?
We saw a lot of the same stuff we saw earlier in the year in the first couple innings, and then the third inning it looks like he either labored or didn't feel very good. But he's got such electrifying stuff. Fast twitch athlete, really tough to distinguish the fastball slider. He threw a couple splits. We hit him pretty hard. Jose's ball to left field. You know, obviously Springer got him in the third inning with the breaking ball, but you know, I hope for the good of the game, I hope he can reclaim, you know, his health, and he's such an elite player, and playing both sides is really cool.
And meanwhile, Garrett Cole just struck out the hardest player to strike out in the American League as the shenanigans in the home dugout continue.
You think we have any fun around here?
I did just.
I mean, tell Altuve though. I mean, the pitchers are at least doing something. I mean, he just walks by. No. Justin Verlander's in a rowboat.
No, Jose's playing. This is what happens with pitchers. It's the difference between pitcher mindset and position player mindset. When they're on the bench, I guess that's the difference.
You know, AJ, we're tempted to keep you even longer, but we know you got a game to run, so thanks for the visit. Good luck the rest of the way.
I got a couple players that will yell at us. See you guys later.
Side is retired in the 5th. And yes, the defending World Series champs are having fun in September. Lead for the Astros as this game hits the bottom half of the 5th. It'll be the top of the order for the Astros against the new pitcher for the Angels. Cuban-born right-hander Adrisamar Despaigne takes over.
Well, Matt, something we saw earlier tonight as you take a look at Despaigne's numbers: 14 games, a 6.12 ERA, 27 Ks to walkouts, 14. But one of the things that we've talked a lot about tonight is Ohtani in the 3 innings that we saw him, 2 2/3. And I think the biggest thing is that velocity, and something that I think when you even compare and look at the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd inning and see the dramatic shift, and something that I think we'll still take a look at.
A ball on a strike to George Springer. Springer's home run, the difference so far tonight, the 2-run shot against Ohtani in the 3rd. Altuve and Bregman to follow. Despaigne in from the bullpen for the first time as an Angel and having to run the gauntlet here. 2-2. Everything but the kitchen sink. Full count, 3-2. Despaigne, a part of the Padres starting rotation early in his big league career. His big league career got off to a rather late start after pitching professionally in Cuba. Still a full count as we revisit the Corona premier moment and the man at the plate responsible for it.
Watch him drive down to that back leg, stay in that backside. This is a breaking ball. He's had 2 of them consecutively against Ohtani, but does such a good job. Sometimes you'll even see him drop down that back knee. That's how much he will drive in his backside.
To left and well hit. That one's got a chance, and that one's gone. That's off the top of the wall. Springer into second. Wow, that just missed getting out of here.
And Jessica, you were talking about Springer getting through his legs, swinging down through the baseball. The biggest favor you can do any hitter with an injured thumb is throw him off speed, and again, it's the breaking ball.
It just checked up south of that yellow line and bounded back into play.
And
George thought he had it off the bat, and then he had to kick it into gear. They're going to take another look at this back in New York. Boundary call here. This is an official review. This is not a challenge by the Astros. It looks to me as though they got it right on the field. It fooled me, I'll tell you that much. And the call will stand. You can't come much closer.
Just a few inches away from George Springer 3, Angels 1, both on breaking balls.
And here's Altuve now. credit the third base umpire, Ramon de Jesus. He got that call as the strike is called on Altuve. And by the way, while we're talking umpires, I need to clean up the fact that Stu Sherwater was made a full-time umpire for this year. It is de Jesus who is the AAA fill-in umpire on this crew.
So far, he's had a challenging night, Matt, and it'll be interesting to see in the upcoming innings how the back and forth between Cole and him adjust here.
Yeah, we're led to believe that Cole will, it looks like, get one more inning. Nobody's throwing in the Astros bullpen. Although a long inning here could change that. 2 balls and a strike, to count to Altuve.
Keep an eye on Jose Altuve's back leg. Talked about the injuries, and a lot of these guys grinding through as most players do in the month of September, but it was his back knee that was his injury. And one of the things you'll see when he's going right is he'll stay in that back leg. When he's hurting, you're going to see him dive onto his front side. And with a guy, especially his size, it's such a difference. And Alex, you know this because of the head movement when he gets to that front side, but also the lack of power. He needs to be able to stay into that back knee. He knows it, but when that back knee is barking, it's a reaction for him to not be able to stay down into it.
The 3-1. A full count now, 3-2.
It really does feel like this is going to be an issue for the Astros through the rest of September and into October. Jose Altuve, as you mentioned, with the knee. George Springer with the thumb issue that he's been having. Carlos Correa with his back issue. Are those guys firing out the way that we saw last October? And how will they be able to play with those nagging injuries?
And Buster, those nagging injuries result in superstar players giving you more mediocre or average results. Something to watch.
Full count pitch home to Altuve, misses for ball 4. A quick reminder, you can follow the race to the postseason on MLB.tv for $25.99. Watch every out-of-market regular season game, plus a free subscription to MLB At-Bat Premium. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv to take advantage of this limited time offer. Well, the Astros are set up to do some damage here. Leadoff double, base on balls, and now their RBI leader, Alex Bregman. Trying to convert here and run a consecutive games reach base safely streak to 30.
And as good of a season as he's having, career highs in almost every category, this is when he steps it up even another notch. He's second in the bigs with slugging percentage with runners in scoring position. I mean, this is a guy we talk about his confidence, but these are the moments he wants to be in. 1-run ball game, a duck out there at second base, and George Springer that he wants to score.
And just to your point, he possesses the tool that is often overlooked. It's called confidence, and it's Dustin Pedroia-like confidence.
Bregman and the Astros will be in Boston next week to take on Dustin's squad. Pedroia still on the disabled list for the Red Sox. Astros and Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball a week from tonight. Dustin Pedroia, a player that Alex Bregman grew up idolizing. And to left, a base hit. And that loads the bases with nobody out.
And Alex Bregman was telling me this afternoon the adjustment he's made, he's gotten closer to the plate and daring pitchers to throw in, making that outside pitch like that one right down the middle. And he's making them pay. Short, tight, and compact. And Jessica, that's the swing right there you talked about in the open, and that's made Alex Bregman perhaps at this moment the best player in the Astros roster.
And Alex, you talked about the tools that he has, not only getting up on the plate, but understanding his body. Watch him choke up, and you'll see him choke up no matter what the count is. It's to bring him more back control, but he doesn't lose the power. And look how efficient he is. Not a ton of movement, not even a ton of separation. He's able to stay so short and compact, and then look at that flat bat path. In a day and age where you see launch angle, you see guys get underneath it, this guy hunts pitches up in the zone because of how flat and compact he stays.
So the opportunity for the Astros to score gets even more intriguing. Bases loaded now with nobody out for Carlos Correa. The Angels play the infield in.
This tells you a lot of what Mike Scioscia thinks of his offense without Upton and without Pujols. With no outs, very unconventional to play the infield all the way in with no outs.
One and one. Carlos Correa got this season off to such a great start. Entering play on May 5th, hitting .311, slugging .529, then endured a little slump. Then the injury set in. We talked about this earlier. Since coming off the DL with the back problem, batting just .187, and it's been about a month.
That was a very rare turnaround. It's like they're dancing salsa or something. I've never seen the actual turnaround and the 10 pads.
Yeah, he just
and
kept
the stomach. That was a.
Correa looking for at least a fly ball. He leads Major League Baseball with 10 sac flies this year. A double, a walk, and a single have greeted Odrisimar Despaigne. And now Arcia wants to come out and chat with him.
Alex Bregman told me today that he thinks that Carlos Correa is going to go off and be on fire for September. It's his pick to click. And the reason why, he says he's starting to get healthy. And that base hit he got up the middle, he's starting to hit the ball up the middle, stay through, and get into the more fluid motions that's made Carlos such a great hitter.
2 balls and a strike. Right on the corner. You gotta have guts to come in there with a 94-mile-an-hour pitch on the inner half.
And a wall that's 315 feet away, the short porch in left field.
Again, the Angels infield in. 2-2. And a full count now.
That's where teams go to Carlos Correa. That's been where they've had success. His fastball's on the inner part of the plate. And that last one, Arcia set up in. Despaigne missing away.
Nowhere to put him with nobody out. Ball 4.
Probably his last hitter right there, and there comes Mike Scioscia.
Despaigne faces 4 batters, fails to record an out, and leaves with the fire hot. A pitching change. It will be right back. Flipping the switch, brought to you by Boost Mobile. It is Tyler White, who had a big walk-off home run Wednesday against the A's. Took Jerry's Familia deep. And then yesterday, a go-ahead 2-run double in the top of the 8th against Hansel Robles. That one almost missed getting out of here. Tyler White has been hot.
Top 5 in OPS since the All-Star break. Face a new pitcher in Noe Ramirez. Fastball, curveball, changeup. 61 appearances this season alone. At 1.33 whip. But for Tyler White, I mean, this is someone who has proven himself. Matt, you talked about it. AT Hinch telling him, look, you want to stay up, you got to hit. And that's all he's done since the break. They can't keep him out of the lineup. And one of the biggest things for Tyler White in his career, he's always been someone that understands the strike zone, will take his walks, but never really had the power. That's something he has increased and worked on in the last year.
Again, the Angels play the infield in with the run in, and still nobody out with the bases loaded. Ramirez first pitch on the appeal, no swing.
And with Tyler White, it's the discipline that's given AT Hinch, the manager of the Astros, so much confidence in White, and especially in October, to have more mature at-bats.
It's been a little while between outings for Noe Ramirez. His last one came on Tuesday against the Rockies, and he actually made the first start of his big league career, and in doing so became the first player in Angels history to record a save one night and then make a start the following day. The 2-0. Not a huge sample size for Tyler White, but 0 for 4 for his career with the bases loaded.
If you're Ramirez, you want the ground ball. If you're White, you want to elevate a sinker and get the ball airborne.
Perfectly located pitch just off the corner, and it's 2-2.
And a very funky delivery by Ramirez. Exact opposite of what White has seen earlier with Ohtani with an overhand fastball.
Yeah, this is like that right-hander trapped in a left-hander's body, or vice versa. Left-hander trapped in a right-hander's body.
Or something like that.
Yeah. Anyway, here's the 2-2. A roller to the drawn-in shortstop. Simmons comes home. They get the out at the plate.
And luckily not a double play ball here by White. Just a bit of a hesitation. Talking to Bregman, and one of the reasons he thinks the numbers here are down offensively, if you look at the backdrop, with a guy like Ramirez, if you see the red sign right there, Phillips 66, as a hitter, that's where the ball's coming out of, because he's coming way from the side. What you want is you want an all-black background.
Well, there have been a lot of theories levied as to why runs are down in this ballpark. Place that used to play like a bandbox when it was open almost 20 years ago. First pitch to Gonzalez, misses down and away. There are hitters' dimensions here for sure. Short down the lines. Of course, a year and a half ago they removed what was called Tal's Hill in center field and replaced it with the batter's eye that Alex just talked about.
Hitters would love that batter's eye to be a lot bigger. To Alex's point, release point from different pitchers, to have it be dark behind them in so many spots it's light.
Well, just out of reach for Ward, who might have thought that ball was in the seats.
And a very bright background.
A ball and a strike to Marwin Gonzalez, who has been about as good as you could ask with the bases loaded over the past couple of seasons. 14 for 34. A ball and a strike.
Now, ideally, the eye black would like that. But of course, I'm a hitter. But seriously, it would probably be like that big. And you see how small it is here. Obviously, I did not take drawing in elementary school.
It's all right. We'll get it. We'll get it going. The
I don't think it showed up, so you're
very
good.
Fickle.
Great.
Very fickle. A ball and 2 strikes is a count to Marwin Gonzalez. Did you ever have an Etch-a-Sketch as a kid?
Well,
here we go.
Oh,
okay. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
Okay.
Oh. So what are we doing?
You want the eye black to be that big and all of it to be black.
The batter's eye.
Old Yankee Stadium was great. Seattle's great. But all that color up there is very distracting. So less is more for a backdrop. And I just proved I got an F in arts and crafts. My producers are screaming at me
so
saying, don't ever draw again.
Well, you just took, I don't know, at least 10, 20 grand off the budget for next year because they're going to take the telestrator away from us.
Well, that means that we may have a couple more Taco Bell commercials. But I really wanted to land that point. I did a terrible job doing it.
The point is well taken. We get what you were talking about.
Bigger
The batter's eye here
is
narrow, and there's a lot of color out there.
It's hard to draw on a screen.
Black is better is what I meant. Black is better. The eye black.
Meanwhile, it's 3 balls and 2 strikes now to Marwin Gonzalez with the bases loaded, a run in rather, and 1 away. Chance to break the game open here in the 5th. The 3-2. Let's revisit this work of art while we have a moment on a foul ball. Started with good intentions.
Here, look at this over here.
Oh my.
And
Andy Warhol, he is not. Oh boy. I mean, yikes.
he didn't even get to use all the tools.
Anyways, how the Hurricanes doing?
We're going to try a 3-2 once again to Marwin Gonzalez. Got him. The guy who's hit over 400 with the bases loaded over the last 2 years strikes out, and there are 2 away. ESPN technology is built for baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile using our front row camera.
This is where the importance of location, only 92 miles an hour, but you see where that slot comes from in the side, and then being able to stay elevated in the zone to a tough batter and a tough at bat against Marwin Gonzalez.
And just Gonzalez expecting the sinker, he got the 4-seamer.
So now Yuli Gurriel, who's 0 for 2 tonight. Remember how this inning started. Double, walk, single, bases loaded, nobody out. Correa drew the bases loaded walk. White grounded into the fielder's choice play with the Angels executing at the plate. Gonzalez strikes out. 2-0 now. And you're talking about one of the best hitters in baseball with runners in scoring position.
Hitter's dream right here. 2-0.
3 balls and no strikes.
I'm sure Gary Pettis and AT Hinch both have the green light. And as a hitter here, if you like one, let it eat.
On the corner, 3-1.
Good pitch there by Ramirez, hits the corner.
Ramirez in a tight spot. Gurriel bounces to shortstop. Wow. Bases loaded, nobody out, and the Angels limit the damage to a lone run. Terrific work by Noah Ramirez. 3-1 Houston. A term that was coined when Dennis Eckersley was walked off by Kirk Gibson in the World Series some years ago. There have been 84 walk-off homers this year, a major league record. Tyler White responsible for one of those 84. Our Sunday night focus as Taylor Ward leads things off in the visitors half of the 6th. Ward, Arcia, and Marte. Garrett Cole back to work as he approaches 100 pitches and sat for a spell during a rather long bottom half of the inning.
Garrett Cole doing a good job tonight with tunneling, and Alex, you have talked about this so much, the north to south, but being able to make the fastball look like the curveball. Out of the hand, on the way, when the hitter decides what pitch they think it is. And both those pitches looking so similar tonight.
And that's lined into right center field, a leadoff single for Taylor Ward.
This is what I'm talking about. And watch the ability first to Cole Calhoun, the fastball. Look at where it's located. Look at what it does. It'll get a little bit of a late break off of that same tunnel that late. Look at exactly the same spot, but no, different pitch, different velocity, different break. That pitch off of that, then he'll start with the curveball. He'll reverse it. Same tunnel. Watch what it does. Down in the zone, 80 miles an hour. In that same tunnel, now it's a fastball, but hitter, Eric Young Jr. in this case, looks like the curveball. He's late. It's 98.
Here's Francisco Scioscia now. He takes a strike. Cole up over 100 pitches. First time he's gotten there since the 30th of July. He's been great tonight. He's been even better than those numbers would indicate, and those numbers are pretty doggone good.
And Matt, when you talk about numbers, one that jumps off the page from Cole, he has struck out 41% of all left-handed hitters he's faced. Never in the history of the game, with at least 300 batters faced, has any pitcher in the history of the game struck out 35.
He's in front of the left-handed hitting Francisco Scioscia 0-2, and he strikes him out. There's bullpen activity behind Garrett Cole for the first time tonight. Tony Sipp and Joe Smith are up and throwing. Smith, the former Angel.
Hey, Matty, we've talked about Charlie Morton and the project, both coming from Pittsburgh, but it's a whole different game. I mean, Garrett Cole was already a star. In 2015, he was 19-8 with a 2.6 ERA. The adjustment was north to south from east to west. So different project, both very successful for the Astros.
Well, Cole began his Astros career in really splendid fashion. If you'll recall back in April, he starts Marte with a strike. Joined Nolan Ryan as the only pitchers in Major League history to strike out at least 11 in their first 3 starts of the season. That was part of a franchise record 61 strikeouts in April. He had 169 by the All-Star break, also a franchise record.
It's interesting. One of the things A.J. Hinch told us in his interview this game was his ability, though, to be able to continue to get ahead and stay ahead. You're seeing it here in the 6th inning. In the first half, that was something he dominated with. I mean, he was attacking guys early, and you know that he could put them away 3 to 4 pitches. Where they want to see him, especially heading into the postseason, and where he kind of lacked coming out of the All-Star break, is when he started to get behind hitters. Too many pitches per at bat.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting you bring that up, Jess, because historically for Cole, even during his 5-year run in Pittsburgh, August has been his worst month on the calendar year. And this August was no exception. Did not have a quality start in August. Had a 4.30 ERA this last month. Not bad, but by his own standards, the highest of any month he's had in an Astros uniform. The good news is, historically, he's always bounced back and had a strong September. And tonight looks like it's right on par with the back of his baseball card.
And even though he's young, he does have some October experience. He pitched that, famous game in 2015 against the Cubs and Jake Arrieta. While he lost 4-0 that game, is still experience he can draw upon for this postseason this year.
I don't think anybody was going to beat Jake Arrieta in that wild card game. He was on another planet.
It was the year he won the Cy Young.
Not the greatest second half of any pitcher ever.
The At-Bat mobile app is your #1 app for Major League Baseball. Live radio broadcasts, stats, StatCast, and more. Download At-Bat on the App Store today. Into left, a base hit. So runners at first and second now with 1 gone.
And that could bring in the left-hander for A.J. Hinch. 109 pitches for Cole.
Tony Sipp is hot, so's Joe Smith. Another left-hander due up behind the switch hitting Eric Young Jr. And it looks like there'll be one more at bat given to Cole here. Well, we talked to Gerrit Cole yesterday and we asked him about his thoughts when he first learned he was traded to the Astros, because remember, this last offseason it looked like he was going to be a Yankee. There were reports that he was traded to New York, and actually New York was the team he grew up rooting for. His dad is from upstate New York. Wanted that to happen as a kid. He was drafted by the Yankees, decided to go to UCLA instead. So when news came that he'd been traded to New York, his mind started going one way. And then, of course, we learned that trade was not official. He gets dealt to the Astros, and he thought in the back of his mind, well, I'm not going to the Yankees, but at least as an Astro, I'm playing in the AL West, and I'll have 3 trips home to Orange County every year to play the Angels.
You imagine him in pinstripes?
I don't know. The folks around here like him with that star in the H.
They sure do. But I love what AT Hinch is doing here. He's letting his big boy say, here's the 112th pitch coming. This is your mess. Clean it up. I love the approach. Little old school baseball.
A chance to go deep into the game against the uniform he was a pretty big supporter of as a kid. Told us he's been to probably over 200 Angels games as a fan.
Wow.
Including, and he remembered this off the top of his head, Adam Kennedy's 3-home run game in the 2002 ALCS. Game 2 of the 2002 World Series when Bonds hit a 900-foot home run against Troy Percival.
Tim Salmon said, wow.
And he gets Eric Young Jr. And that 113 pitches into the night will be a wrap for Gerrit Cole. A terrific performance by the soon-to-be 28-year-old right-hander. Nothing official yet.
Whoa. This is a conversation.
And now the move is made for the left-hander Tony Sipp. His biggest workload since June 18th. Cole was by Quicken Loans. A terrific night for Gerrit Cole. En route to his 13th win of the year. 9 strikeouts tonight in his 5 2/3. Just the 1 run allowed on 6 scattered hits. He hands the ball to left-hander Tony Sipp with 2 out and 2 on here in the inning. Tony making his 45th appearance of the year. Terrific numbers, as you can see. His job on this occasion, retire Cole Calhoun, and he strikes him with a strike.
Sipp will attack you with a fastball, a slider, and a split, and he will use the split with righties and lefties for the strikeout.
When we were here in June, I recall visiting with AT Hinch and talking about his bullpen, which at the time had some question marks around it. And him telling us specifically, we have to get that group right by September. It would appear that that's happening. Chris Stavinsky back and healthy. The acquisition, albeit a controversial one, of Roberto Osuna. Hector Rondon has pitched very well. There's the former Blue Jay who was acquired despite a pending investigation and suspension for a domestic abuse incident while a Blue Jay. The legal results of that have not been sorted out in Canada. He did serve a mandatory suspension based on MLB's domestic abuse policy, one of the largest suspensions ever given by Major League Baseball. And he is an Astro for the time being. Three balls and a strike to count to Cole Calhoun.
Dangerous pitch here for Sipp.
He lost him on ball 4. Let's see if the Astros go back to the bullpen for the right-hander, and they will. Here comes AT Hinch. He's got Joe Smith hot. Had him ready just in case Sipp was unable to retire Calhoun, which is exactly what happened. So now with the bases loaded and 2 gone, another change. We'll be right back. Eastern, the A's and Yankees in Oakland at 4 o'clock Eastern. Great matchup in that one. CC Sabathia, an Oakland area native, against Trevor Cahill. Sunday night baseball, a week from tonight. Jess, Buster, Alex, and I are in Boston for these Astros and the Red Sox. So back-to-back at-bats with a new pitcher. As Tony Sipp lost Cole Calhoun to the walk, that loads the bases with 2 gone. And brings on the veteran right-hander and former Angel Joe Smith.
Comes from that sidearm slot. He's got a bat break and sinker, a four-seam fastball, and a slider.
David Fletcher has the chance for the Angels. Easier said than done, as Smith has been tough on right-handed batters throughout his career. This year not an exception. Righties hitting just .206 against Joe Smith. And he hits him with the bases loaded. A ball that just got away from him. And as much as it feels like the Astros have dominated tonight, that makes it a one-run game.
And his good buddy Mike Trout coming to the game.
Well, that's the biggest thing, is get out of this inning is the mindset. They had a chance with Sip at the top of the lineup with Cole Calhoun. They bring in Joe Smith, and it's all about don't get to the best hitter in Mike Trout with the bases loaded and nowhere to put him.
Trout is singled and walked tonight. You guys mentioned how Joe Smith and Mike Trout are close friends, and I would imagine Joe knows as well as anybody that if you're going to pitch a knee-high offering to Mike Trout, you better make it unhittable, because he will kill you in the lower part of the strike zone.
Well, and this is the matchup that Mike Trout wants, because even though Joe Smith can elevate with the four-seamer, his best pitch is down in the zone with that sinker. Right into the wheelhouse of Mike Trout.
The 1-1. Mind to shortstop and gobbled up by Correa to end the threat. However, the hit batsman with the bases loaded brings the Angels a bit closer. It's a one-run game. Back with Jessica Mendoza, Alex Rodriguez, Buster Olney, Matt Vasgersian, and Noe Ramirez is largely responsible for keeping this game as close as it is. Entered with a run in, the bases loaded, and nobody out in the fifth, and promptly got out of a very tight spot. He'll face Martin Maldonado, Tony Kemp, and top of the order George Springer in the sixth.
Very tough angle for any right-handed hitter. Ramirez can both sink it, for a ground ball, or he can throw a four-seamer from that same angle for a strikeout. We saw both last inning.
To the opposite field and well hit. Calhoun circling in front of the wall for the first out. Well, we started the telecast with the big story of the night being the return to the mound of Shohei Ohtani. He went 2 1/3 tonight in his return for the first time in 3 months.
But watch the velocity. Second inning, the fastball. Look at where he's at. 98 miles an hour. The slider, 81. And then the split finger, 87 miles an hour. Just an inning later. Same pitches. Fastball, 90 miles an hour. That's an 8-mile-an-hour drop. Slider down to 77. And then split down to 83. That is dramatic. That's huge for a pitcher, especially from innings 2 to inning 3. We saw a big difference.
Starters lines, as we mentioned, Ohtani, who was on a pitch count, went 2 1/3. Cole was terrific tonight. Struck out 9 in his nearly 6 innings of work. It was Garrett's longest since the middle of June. 1-1 the count to Sip.
Matt, what's interesting about
Rather.
September baseball is there's a lot of roster manipulation. And whatever you see in September, unfortunately, is nothing like you're going to see in October. And what I mean by that, the Dodgers ended up losing the World Series because while they were better with a 40-man roster, the Astros had a better 25-man roster. And that's why they won Game 7. For me, I wish we only had 25 players and 25 only. If you want to make any expansion in rosters, make it in April, where pitchers are not quite ready. You can protect pitchers, but not this time of the year where there's so much recourse on every pitch of Major League Baseball.
Here's George Springer now with 2 gone. Well, on this September 2nd, we visited with Mike Scioscia about the idea of roster expansion, and his thoughts echoed the sentiments of what you just said, Alex. And I don't think I've run into a baseball person in the last 10 years that doesn't feel the same way. September roster expansion is almost archaic. If you give a manager a 13-man bullpen, he's going to use 12 men. I get the spirit of roster expansion, designed to indoctrinate younger players into the rigors of Major League Baseball, get their feet wet.
Can we go to 30? I mean,
yeah. Give your 25-man some relief. You can do it by going to 30. You can do it by making a 40-man roster expansion in September, yet only having an active roster of that night's game between 28 and 30 guys.
Yeah, and to where the players' unions have here for a second is you don't want to take service time away from any player, especially a player in the 40-man roster. But from the purity of just strategy of the game, it's so much better when the chess match is 25 versus 25.
Well, how about this? Everybody on the 40-man gets their service time, yet on that day, you can't have all 40 active.
It sounds a bit like the NFL, Matt. That I don't know much about, but you mentioned earlier that's a bit like the NFL, but as long as you know who are the 25 players you're going up against, you want September to resemble October. And as a player, you want dress rehearsal. Just like in Broadway, you have a dress rehearsal, you want the same thing when you're a player. It makes no sense that you have 38 players in September, and then a day later, you have a one-game playoff, and you go home. But now it's 25 against 25.
2 balls and 2 strikes to George Springer. Well, a lot of people have also suggested, Alex, and I know you've talked about this in the past as well, if you want 40-man roster expansion, why not have it in April? Give players some cold weather game relief, right? You're coming out of spring training. You might not be up to full speed in terms of your innings and your pitch counts. That would make a little more sense than 40-man expansion at the end of the season.
most important games.
Most important games when you want to put your best foot forward as an industry. College football and the NFL are going right now. Yet we've got these 4-hour games that have 13 pitching changes in them.
That's right. The pyramid is right. We just have it backwards. And what happens, Matt, with starting pitching, and Mike Scioscia alluded to this in his office earlier today, there's some unpredictable things that can happen with a pitcher in spring training. You may not get your 40, 60, 80 as you build up. something may happen. You may have to pull someone, and that now takes you to April 15th instead of April 1st. Therefore, if you're going to give a margin of error, a safety net for players and the union, give it early, not late.
Big fastball strikes out Springer. A very impressive 2 innings by Noe Ramirez. We're headed to the 7th inning in Houston tonight in a 1-run game.
Astros in this week's poll question, with the Angels playing in this game, which disappointing team from 2018 is most likely to contend in 2019? The Angels, the Giants, the Mets, the Nationals. We had over 50,000 votes. The winner, the Washington Nationals. The Angels coming in second. What do you think, guys?
I will defer to my colleagues to go first.
I had the Nationals, and I actually don't like going with the grain of everyone else, but I voted right when it came out, actually. When does it get 25 votes? And the reason is I just feel like Bryce Harper, I don't think he's going to stay. I think that's not a secret. And I just feel like that team is so good even without him, and how much talent they have, led by Max Scherzer, so much youth in Juan Soto and Trey Turner, that I just feel like this team has been defined by Harper, and they're going to be even better, maybe possibly without him.
But wait a minute, we don't want to bury the lead here. Where is Harper going? You said he's gone. Is that?
No, that's not for sure. I'm putting it out there as just my scenario of the team that I voted for.
It sounded very confident.
With 2 pitches from Ryan Presley and action on both of them. An infield pop and then a base hit. So 1 out and 1 on.
Who you got, Alex?
And Buster, I'm going to go with, when in doubt, go with pitching. I'm going with the Mets. DeGrom, Thor, Wheeler, Matt, a left-hander in there. Anytime you have 4 guys like that, I'll tell you what, if you're the Mets and those guys are healthy, you don't want to go on a short series against the New York Mets.
I voted with Jess. I voted for the Nationals. I think they have such a great core between Scherzer and Juan Soto, and even if Bryce leaves, I think they're going to have a heck of a group of players that they can bounce back with next year.
Buster, where do you think Bryce ends up?
I disagree with Jess. I think he's going to wind up back with Washington.
It's a wild pitch that advances Fernandez to second.
Do we get to like revisit poll questions? Like we should like track all the ones that we can like kind of revisit that tell us about next year and see where we're at. Get bets going like your Hurricanes. Looks like you're gonna have a $50 bill attached to your forehead.
There's always next year.
For those that weren't with us earlier, Alex and Alex, Bregman and Rodriguez had a friendly wager on today's Miami LSU contest. Alex Bregman, of course, on the LSU side. And it looks like he'll be having lunch on Mr. Rodriguez sometime down the road.
Indeed, and Matt, I lost the wager, so I have a little envelope here, and it's on its way right now. Jessica says Alex Bregman.
I can see the cash.
LSU winner. It is. Can you see it right there? Yeah. Alex Bregman is headed. It is heading your way. That's
500 pennies.
Yeah, no, it's a check, and I'm sure it's going to bounce. So, but anyways, it is on your way to you now.
Fourth quarter, 33-17 Hurricanes. There's a chance. You're already giving up. You're sitting there all up down.
Yeah. We had a lot of hope this year.
2 balls and 2 strikes the count to Taylor Ward, who has scored both of the Angels' runs tonight. Houston trying to hang on, close this out, and salvage this 4-game series with a split. A called strike 3 taken by Ward.
Good pitch here by Presley. Fastball down in the strike zone. Good pitch and a good call. A fastball that looks like it's going to go down under the strike zone, but because it's a four-seamer, it stays right on plane. Good pitch, great call.
Two gone for Presley. Now back to the catcher, Francisco Arcia. You know, just to finish the thought on the Astros bullpen being a lot better now than it was earlier in the season, it's given the Astros a lot more leash in terms of how they manage the postseason innings, because as well as things worked out with Brad Peacock and Charlie Morton working out of the bullpen, I think any team would prefer knowing that they won't have to kind of dual use their starters in relief. In other words, you have that lockdown 7th, 8th, 9th, and only on the occasion that something goes wrong do you have to move a starter into the pen in the postseason. I know the trend is bullpen innings in the fall, but AT Hinch told us he's not sure he has to do that this year. Last year that was born out of necessity. A ball and 2 strikes on Arcia.
There's no question the game is moving towards bullpen as king. I'm still a big believer in the old-fashioned way. You do it with great starting pitching. You want your horses to go 200 innings, have 30 to 35 starts, and grab the rubber every 4 or 5 days.
Orbit has been conspicuously quiet tonight.
Oh, it's up late. I'm guessing like 2 years old or younger. Holiday weekend. Not that he's in school or has anything to worry about on a Monday, but.
Oh, hey.
You notice that most of the dogs have steered clear of Orbit tonight. Large green costume mascots just aren't really understood by the canine community. Orbit's got a cottage industry going on down there. $5 a picture. Swing and a miss by Arcia, retires the side. 7th inning stretch in Houston with the Astros still on top by a run. Your video cliff notes on a 3-2 lead for the homestanding Astros as we're in and out of the 7th inning stretch for the Angels. They score a couple of runs in rather unconventional fashion. Garrett Cole was outstanding tonight on the mound for the Astros. And as far as Houston's lineup is concerned, George Springer struck for a 2-run home run. It's a lead that they have not given back. A pitching change for the Angels. Yet another one after 2 terrific innings for Ramirez. It's veteran right-hander Junichi Tazawa who takes over here in the last of the 7th, and he pops up Jose Altuve to start the 7th. This is Tazawa's Angels debut, called up prior to last night's game off the AAA roster. He is technically, though 32 years old, a roster expansion guy this year. And in working becomes the 35th different pitcher used by the Angels this season, extending a club record.
He will attack you with 3 pitches, overhand fastball 91 to 94, a get me over curveball, and his best pitch is a split finger or forkball for the strikeout.
So on a night when Japanese-born Shohei Ohtani opens, it is fellow countryman Junichi Tazawa working in the 7th. Ball and a strike to count to Alex Bregman. Well, between innings, it's a tradition here that the TV announcers, the local guys, the home guys, our friends.
And I had to point out the camera to you because you hit it twice.
Yeah, well, put the camera in my way of the peanut toss. That's a duty that Todd Callis and Jeff Blum man every day. We thought we would just.
That was cool, though.
And Alex Bregman has gone deep again. Man! Oh!
Crushed!
That one would have kept going.
That's 100 plus on the exit velo. Thing was gone a step out of the batter's box.
Outstanding swing here. Like Jessica, you said it in the opener. He not only may be the best player on this team right now, he is playing like one of the best players in the game. And what I love, he told me, I am daring American League pitchers to throw into me with this left field porch. I'm right on top of the plate, and I'm going to go do damage if they come in there.
Come out! Come out!
I just like looking at the swing. I mean, it's a home run as the result, but he's had a swing his entire career that has allowed him to be a contact guy. There's such a simplicity in it. Flat to the zone. Yeah, just crushed.
I mean, we can't say enough good things about Alex Bregman. I mean, here's a number that jumps off the page for me. 70 players in Major League Baseball have hit 20 home runs or more. Jose Ramirez is the only player with over 20 home runs, and he has 37, that has struck out less. 1 every 11.4 at-bats. Alex Bregman, 1 every 1.8 at-bats. The ability of power, now with 29 home runs, and put the ball in play, puts him in the category of a Daniel Murphy a couple of years ago. There's no more important asset that you can have in baseball today. The combination of power and contact. And there's nobody better right now, Jessica, to your point, than Alex Bregman.
A couple of things on Bregman have happened tonight as he has homered in back-to-back games. Tonight he has extended his consecutive games reaching base safely streak to 30. The second time this year that Bregman has had a stretch of 30 straight reaching base safely. That's just the second time in a decade that a player has had 2 such streaks in the same season.
You know what's funny is a lot of times when we talk about players that don't pay attention to awards or just want to go out and, you know, play, do the thing, yada, yada, yada. Alex Bregman, talking to him pregame, he has such an eye, not only in his own numbers, but on the American League MVP. I mean, he has goals that he set, but he knows one of them's on the team he's playing against right now, Mike Trout. He knows what Mike Trout's doing. He knows what Mookie Betts is doing. He knows what Jose Ramirez is doing, and he sets that standard for himself.
Carlos Correa grounds it to shortstop for the second out.
I mean, it is so short and tight and explosive. Not much can go wrong with a swing like that.
If only they'd have fun, you know?
What are they doing with the limbo?
Under Tony Kemp, the human limbo. All the fun that they've had, the stare. I mean, we saw that all week long.
There's Tyler White now.
And Buster, I thought you brought up a great point this morning when you talked about Alex Bregman being the player, the modern day kind of poster child that can get all this great sabermetrics, analytics, metrics, and make it work in his favor. Not a lot of players can do that.
No, using all the information and also being able to handle all the outside stuff. Like you hear from the Astros people, Alex Bregman does everything, like the media requests and the social media things. He's into all of it, and he can handle it. And it's part of, I think, what his teammates really respect about him is that he enjoys this and yet thrives so well and prepares so well for every game. Yeah.
3 balls and no strikes to White, and yes, Alex Bregman is a legitimate AL MVP candidate, though so much of the dialogue has gone to the 2 Boston contenders, Betts and Martinez. Jose Ramirez has had a huge year. Trout's always on the board, and Alex Bregman has played his way right into the conversation here the last month plus of the season. We did this for AL Cy Young. Pick a card, Jess. Who do you got?
Mookie Betts. And I factor in all of it. And I get the JD Martinez. That is the big conversation, him being a DH. If he wins the Triple Crown, I think he bumps his way possibly to the top. But I got Mookie today.
Alex?
I would have to go with JD Martinez just because he was late to the party and became the party in New England very quickly. But I'm a little biased to a guy that played shortstop that went over to third. So I'm going to hedge. Alex Bregman.
Okay. Buster, you cast the final vote on this.
I got Mookie Betts. I asked Jose Altuve about Bregman and what he did when so many injured Astros guys were out, and he said, you know what, even since we've all came back, he's the guy. So Alex Bregman is a legitimate candidate, but I got Mookie.
Definitely the MVP on this team, to your point, though, Buster.
We spoke about the tool of confidence, and it's one that is hard to really measure. But here's what he brings, and when you play, they went to the World Series last year. Essentially, if you count spring training all the way through the World Series, you're playing 200 games in about 232 days. What he brings is energy, and that energy is infectious, and you need that. And for a superstar player to also be that guy, that rarely happens.
Out pitch to White's out to the left center field gap and over Eric Young Jr. into the garage doors. A stand-up double for Tyler White. He too just keeps hitting.
AJ Hinch challenged Tyler White to hit, and he's hit in a big way. And he continues to impress not only with his great at-bats, but also his discipline as a mature hitter at the plate.
A pinch runner, it'll be Jake Marisnick that takes over on base. Marisnick was activated off the DL yesterday. Missed just under 3 weeks with a groin injury. So he's aboard now for Marwin Gonzalez. You know, just to button up the point on Bregman too, Alex, and you talked about how special it is to have the guy with the most infectious energy also as your best player. How about a guy who's your best communicator as your best player? You talked about how conversant he is in sabermetrics. He's also fluent in Spanish.
Indeed. And he did that because he wanted to increase and enhance his leadership skills. I mean, it's interesting. He never stops talking. Now he's looking at the iPad. He's got so much energy. It's interesting. My former teammate, Carlos Beltran, who I have the utmost respect for Carlos, he said to me, I asked him about JV Verlander, what impact he's made. He goes, obviously, everybody knows that, Alex. The guy that's made this team different is our third baseman, Alex Bregman. And coming from Carlos, I thought that was such a great compliment from a guy that's with him every day.
He wants to get up there and hit again. 2 balls and a strike.
So Marwin Gonzalez told me an incredible story. You guys remember that home run he hit in Game 2 of the World Series last year off Kenley Jansen. I asked him, hey, did you still have that bat? And he goes, no, actually that bat was Alex Bregman's bat. At the end of that game, it was just put back into the bat rack. They have no idea where it went. Oh. This historic bat that was used, he says Jose Altuve wore him out after the game. Are you kidding? Where's the bat?
Wow. It's somewhere in Steiner Sports, hanging around somewhere.
Without that home run against Kenley Jansen, the Astros come home for Game 3, down 0-2, looking at a completely different set of variables. And you could make the case that they don't win their first ever World Series if they come back home 0-2.
I told him that bat belongs in a museum someplace.
Indeed.
But it's gone.
It's a full count to Marwin Gonzalez. A run in on the Bregman home run. 2 out double by Tyler White. Marisnick pinch running for him in a now 2-run game. Astros trying to hang on tonight and retain the 2.5 game lead over Oakland that they started the day with. The A's earlier today knocked off Seattle. We'll talk a little bit about Oakland next half inning. A team that has applied more pressure to the defending world champs than anybody would have seen coming on opening day. The lead stands at 2. And again, the Astros take care of business, win this one. They go to bed up 2.5. Because Oakland again has won today. Here's the next 3-2 pitch on its way to Gonzalez. Again, wide of the bag.
This is the second longer at bat that we've seen from Marwin Gonzalez. And the battling that he's done. And you think about him this season, he talked about how much pressure he put on himself being a free agent at the end of the season. His numbers are dramatically different. We talk about who comes back into this lineup from injuries, but for Marwin Gonzalez, his numbers in August and September, the most important months for this team, almost 100 points higher in batting average, his OPS, home runs. This is where they need him to be.
He draws ball 4. Well, we mentioned the A's winning at home against Seattle. Stephen Piscotty had a big day. Homered twice, drove in 5, including this 8th inning 3-run shot against former Cub Justin Grimm. A's won going away. And beyond just the race in the AL West, they moved 5.5 games up on Seattle for that second wild card slot. Looking more and more like a New York-Oakland wild card showdown. Here's a complete look at the AL wildcard standings. We talked about it. 5.5 between the A's and Mariners, and the Yankees with a comfortable, for the time being, 4.5 game lead over Oakland for the top spot, meaning home field advantage.
And I think there's going to be more pressure on that A's offense now. Two of their top pitchers going down to the DL, Sean Manaea and Brett Anderson. And you think about the big bats that they have in the lineup, the bullpen that they've been able to have and carry them all season. But this is a time of year where they need to score 8+ runs.
And Matt, you say is, you know, a 4.5 game lead, how comfortable it is. Don't forget, next week the Yankees go to Oakland for a very big series in Oakland.
Line shot from the bat of Yuli Gurriel rounds out the inning. Not before a little damage. Alex Bregman's 27th of the year makes it a 4-2 Astros lead. Alex Bregman's solo home run making it 4-2 Houston. To the top of the 8th, and another pitching change. We talked about this man earlier, how Hector Rondon has been so good out of the Astros bullpen.
Come on.
Through a scoreless inning on Friday. 14 for his last 17 in save opportunities. And he gets Jeffrey Marte to pop up the first pitch. There's some defensive changes behind the new pitcher as well. Josh Reddick takes over in left. Jake Marisnick in center. Marwin Gonzalez moves to second, and that pushes Yuli Gurriel to first. One away now for Eric Young Jr. First Take is moving to New York. That's right. Stephen A., Max, and Molly are headed to the Big Apple on Labor Day Monday. That's tomorrow. Same show, same time, just a new location. 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN and on the ESPN app. And Eric Young sends a fly ball the other way for Reddick.
Matt, you mentioned Marwin Gonzalez moving over to second base. AJ called him the best defensive second baseman on the team. I found that to be shocking. But Gonzalez is one of the most important players, not only for the Astros, but in baseball, because in this modern day of baseball, the ability to give AJ an asset that allows him, because he can play 7 positions, he can now carry an extra pitcher. And in the way these rosters are configured today, that's just a very, very important guy.
7 positions and switch hit.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like 4 guys on the roster rolled into one.
Yep.
He's your Ben Zobrist of the Astros.
That's a good one, Jess.
And the thing is, to your point, Alex, he plays them well above average. A lot of times you see that happen. We're seeing it more and more, where you put guys in maybe places they're not most comfortable with, but it helps your offense, it helps your depth. For Marwin Gonzalez, he is a plus defender in any one of those positions you've seen him play.
And what you find is you'll find them to be plus or okay in the corners, but the minute you get to center field, shortstop, or second base, kind of like the varsity as far as degree of difficulty, they go down to average or below average. In Gonzalez, to your point, he's above average everywhere.
I asked him where he liked to play, if he had to pick one position for the rest of his career. He said, you know, a couple years ago I would have told you shortstop. He said, I love doing this. And it feels like right now his best positions might be third base and first base.
2-2 to Cole Calhoun.
As a player, is the gift and the curse, because you're such an attribute, you're such an asset to a franchise that they won't let you play in one position because you're too valuable playing 7.
He's got the tiny Joe Morgan second baseman's glove, too. You got to keep that in your bag when you're Marwin Gonzalez. He's got to come to the ballpark with like 7 gloves.
And when you add switch hitter on top of that and a good clubhouse guy, Gonzalez can play till he's probably 50.
Still 2 balls and 2 strikes to Cole Calhoun. Full count now.
I think he's smart in telling Buster that he prefers a multitude of positions. He's a free agent after the season, and that is music to any GM's ears to know that, yes, he's a switch hitter, but he also buys into the fact that he can be utilized in any position for a team that is looking for that more now than ever.
Yeah, Gonzalez an impending free agent, but you know, when you look at the big picture here, that there are a couple of runs left for this group before they have to think about breaking up the band. Controllable service time for the young core. And there's ball 4 to Calhoun.
If you're AJ Hinch right now, you should only have one thought in your mind. You want Mike Trout to lead off next inning with nobody on base, obviously. You must get this guy right now.
David Fletcher, the batter, 0 for 3 tonight. He has hit safely in 14 of 16 entering play. When we saw the Angels last, and it was back in July against the Dodgers just prior to the All-Star break, Mike Scioscia talked a lot about how they try to maximize Mike Trout with people on base in front of him. And that was with a healthy roster. Justin Upton getting a night off tonight, day to day after being removed yesterday. Again, Albert Pujols gone for the rest of the season. Ohtani pitched tonight, so he's not DHing. It's not exactly a veteran cast of characters around Mike Trout tonight. Slicing and right. Springer in front of the stands makes the grab to end the inning. To the bottom of the 8th, Astros still on top by 2.
Quicker pace in baseball will participate in. Their bullpen is tremendous now. So trying 3 up, 3 down. The A's can really hit. We genuinely think we're not out of any game. It's pretty special.
Yeah, the Oakland A's are not going away, and the Astros are taking them seriously. Still with the best record since the middle of June. They've only lost 2 of their last 21 series. We didn't put Chris Davis on our AL MVP candidate board, but he is in fact that, with 40 big boys and over 100 runs batted in. And Blake Trinan has been about as nasty as anybody in the back of any bullpen in baseball. Pitching change for the Angels as we start the bottom of the 8th. Miguel Almonte takes over. He'll face the 8, 9, and top of the order hitters for Houston. Almonte, one of the September call-ups on the big league roster for the 2nd time this year.
Matt, if Oakland continues this great brand of baseball they've been playing, I can already see it. Moneyball 2. Ooh, coming your way.
You're talking.
Bring Brad Pitt back.
You know, I think the underreported story about this year's Oakland A's is their manager. It's not a coincidence that the last time a team went to an LCS game, Bob Melvin managed it. The 2007 Diamondbacks were outscored that year, a negative run differential. Yet they went to the NLCS that season. Calhoun lays out and makes a great grab in the gap.
Cole Calhoun is having a second half since coming off the DL. Not only is he swinging the bat so much better, but even just his defense. You see what he does to cut this ball off, but look at where his glove has to be, almost behind him, to be able to make this grab, full length dive. That's a lot of stuff going on. He makes it look easy. It was a big time play, which would have been a leadoff double for the Astros.
Miguel Almonte says thanks. So Maldonado retired, and now it's Josh Reddick for the first time tonight. You hear the Nature Boy noises?
I love it. Ric Flair.
Oh man. It's become a thing here in Houston. As soon as Josh Reddick digs in, they're still doing it.
Yes. Why wouldn't you? Come on. That'll drive any team crazy.
Josh has a not so secret love affair with all things WWE or WWF if you want to go back in the day. So when he digs in for plate appearances here at home, fans respond with the Nature Boy. Should I do it?
Yes,
Bring
please.
it. Plug your ears, folks.
I don't think I can get that high, but woo, woo.
That was the mellow version.
Into right for Calhoun, feeling for the wall and with room for
I
out
wanted your
number 2.
call to be the Ric Flair sound.
Well, here are the sounds of a certain Astros right fielder changing his walk-up music.
I don't know if you heard my walkout today. I went with Future today. I know you heard it.
I heard what?
I should punch you in your
walk-up song?
I should punch you in your chest if you didn't heard it. I changed it specifically for you and you didn't hear it.
What songs you use? You phone home?
I can't even tell you.
I gotta pay.
No, I'm out.
Change your walk-up song? What happened? Because I get some knocks.
Is that Bob Marley stuff too sad?
Stuff was like.
It was like, my boy Carlos, Crybaby George, right?
It's gonna be all right. Yeah.
Don't worry about a thing.
I mean, this is a fun bunch. I know the Washington Redskins had that moniker some 3 decades ago, but these guys have their fun. 0-2 the count to George Springer.
You got to love the personality. And it starts with Springer, right, and Bregman. And when you talk to Correa, and they speak more Spanish, they have the exact same flair. And I hear it a little bit more because they talk to me in Spanish and English. But there's so much excitement in that clubhouse every day, positive energy. You know, again, if you're the leader of this franchise, you just want to keep this bunch together as long as possible.
Ball and 2 strikes the count to George Springer. What was the song?
He confused me because it went from
he said
Bob
Future.
Marley. Yeah, Future's where it started, but then there was some complaints about Bob Marley, and I didn't know what he ended up with. Buster, need you to find out his walk-up song.
Well, I can tell you this. George Springer is the MC in the Astros clubhouse before each game of the World Series last year. He was the guy picking the music, and before Game 7, he was rocking out some 80s, so I could kind of relate.
Okay.
Some 80s.
Well, yeah, Jess.
2 balls and 2 strikes to George Springer.
Matt, I wanted to hear more. Maybe when we come back with your Bob Melvin story. I thought you were going somewhere pretty good there.
We were. It was, but you know, we had to
pivot.
We had to pivot to Springer because that was too good to move on the cutting room floor. There's a ground ball to third to retire the side. Time for that conversation when we return after a 1-2-3/8. The Astros look to close it down in the top of the 9th in a 4-2 lead. Astros, the Wild West in the big leagues. A fantastic finish in Los Angeles. Plus, Doug Peterson fired up over questions about who'll play quarterback for the Eagles on Thursday. And John Gruden and Khalil Mack speaking about the NFL's trade of the year. It's Sports Center after baseball on ESPN. Top of the ninth inning, and the Astros turn to right-hander Roberto Osuna to try to close things down. Middle of the Angels order, Trout, Simmons, and Fernandez. Trout has walked and singled tonight. Roberto Osuna acquired from the Blue Jays just prior to the July trading deadline in exchange for Ken Giles, David Paulino, and minor leaguer Hector Perez. He was acquired while still serving his 75-game suspension over a violation of Major League Baseball's domestic abuse policy. And we mentioned earlier, Buster, that there is a matter of the legal proceedings still to come in Canada. What is the timeline for that process?
Well, it just depends on what happens in the hearing coming up later this week on September 5th. I think Osuna would like it to be resolved, but we'll just have to wait and see, and we'll have to wait and see if more information comes out. Major League Baseball is watching. If more information comes out, they'll reassess their stance in this case.
One gone as he strikes out Mike Trout. Again, the Astros looking to hold on tonight and retain the 2.5-game lead over Oakland that they began the day with. The A's winners today at home over the Mariners. Here's Andrelton Simmons now. We were talking about the A's last half inning as Simmons grounds to second. A team that has not gone away. And Bob Melvin getting a lot out of his roster. Terrific performances there, as are the case here with the Astros. AL West is set for a really good finish. Series did not begin in real good shape for the Astros. Bats were quiet in the first two in this 4-gamer with the Angels. Late offense yesterday, same story tonight. Garrett Cole terrific this evening. And the Astros standing out away from splitting the 4-gamer. One and one to Jose Fernandez. Alex Bregman starring again tonight, homering for the second straight night in the series. And the Angels are down to their final strike. Couple of hops out to second to wrap up the night. Alex Bregman keying the lineup. Garrett Cole terrific on the mound, and it spells a neat, easy 4-2 winning package for the defending World Series champs. A reminder, tomorrow, holiday doubleheader baseball on ESPN at 1 Eastern. It's the Red Sox and Braves, followed by the Yankees and A's at 4 o'clock Eastern. Our final score in Houston tonight: the Astros defeat the Angels 4-2. For Alex Rodriguez, Jessica Mendoza, and Buster Olney, Matt Vasgersian saying goodnight and thanks for watching from Minute Maid Park. Again, the Astros beat the Angels tonight. It's time for Sports Center with John Buccigross and John Anderson.